wear that crest even harder and go into tackles harder. So I understand that, but I am not so certain if we'll see him much, if at all, in this tournament.
I think when the rosters got expanded from 23 to 26, he could take a flyer on one or two players, and the noise around not bringing him might have been louder than if you just bring him and see how he does. So ultimately, I think Carlo Ancelotti leaned into his experience, knowing what was probably best for the team and maybe for his own stress levels throughout the tournament. Like, I'll just bring this guy along. Hopefully we can nurse him. And obviously, if he comes in and is healthy and is ready to go, he can be one of the top players in the world.
We interviewed Pato on the Golazo Network as well, and he said that. He goes, the conversation around Neymar is bigger than even the tournament itself beforehand. Yeah. Every question started off to Ancelotti. Are you bringing Neymar? Are you bringing Neymar? As you mentioned, Ancelotti's the best man manager in the world. He knows that potentially could have been a distraction. And if Neymar is willing to accept the role, which he has with some of his injuries, I think it made more sense that they had to bring him than to not bring him.
Yeah. One other comment we got, Japan, first-time winners. I know we've mentioned them already in this show, but they have got they made an announcement, didn't they, the Japanese Football Association, saying by 2050, our aim is to win a World Cup.
By
2026.
I know, but by 2050.
Okay.
Hell, why not?
Why not have goals?
Yeah.
Set goals in life.
That seems achievable.
A bit of a stretch for this World Cup?
No, not this World Cup.
Yeah, I don't think this World Cup, and I think because Jimmy pointed out, they have a lot of injuries to their mainstay players, the players that are scoring goals that really lead this team, and they're proving to be a team that anybody can score. They can rely on everybody. They have a deeper bench than I think I anticipated Japan coming into this, but it's a long tournament, and you're going to play against even heftier opposition than what we've seen so far, so 2050, hell yeah.
2050 to
Why not?
2026.
Yeah.
Okay. And one other comment, Brazil for World Cup with Ancelotti. We've spoken about how good Ancelotti is.
I mean, if anybody's going to do it with Brazil, who's a foreign manager, it's going to be him. Since he's taken over, Vini's scored, I think, 5 goals in those 12 games that he's been in charge of. I feel like that's only going to improve. He's kind of a Vini whisperer, and that's important, right? And then you have other players that he can bring in and try to mesh. He's really good at the man management side, and so I couldn't actually think of anybody better. The respect that he gets, too, because of everything he's accomplished, I think goes a long way, not only from the players, but from the press. The fans, not all the fans are always going to be pleased. You probably have a different perspective on this, Marco, but it's possible. But when I see Rafinha coming out with an injury, a couple other players, I don't know. Brazil should be in the conversation. Well, I don't know. I feel like you're ready to jump in.
No. Just, I look at their fullbacks. I see Danilo and Alexandro still on the roster, and to me, they just don't scare me anymore. We used to lose to Brazil before you played them. Now they don't give me that sense of fear.
That's fair.
They would really have to put it together, and I just think there's too many other good teams.
Guys, for Spain, it proved to be a comfortable performance in the end. It was exactly the response that they needed after drawing their first game against Cabo Verde. What did you guys see that was different about the Spain performance over the 90 minutes?
I'll let you start, young man.
What did I see different? I saw Yamal that came into the game, sparked a team that was struggling in the first game. He came, he did his thing. They gave him a rest the second half. I'll give him credit. I think they kept with Torres and a few guys that they brought in. I think that they kept that same energy, but completely still a different team when you have a special player like Yamal. And when you have a player like that, you rally around him. I don't think you missed that creativity the second half. It was nice. It was a good flow. The ball was moving side to side. But to say that they're as dangerous as the first half, I would say not even close.
I would say, again, credit to the manager to be brave enough to start his strongest lineup at the start of the game, especially when you talk about needing a response in the performance from that draw versus Cape Verde and all the negative press that they've had to deal with and the criticism. Some managers would have probably thought, you know what, I don't want to risk Lamine and I want to keep him on the bench and wait to see how the team progresses, because reality of it is, whichever lineup Spain put out there should have been good enough to beat Saudi Arabia.
Should have been good enough to beat Cape Verde as well.
Should have been good enough to get Cape Verde as well, but that was a bit of a reality check to them. So for me, we've seen other nations and managers try and be too smart, over tactical, and try and, you know, do things where, for me, it makes no sense. You want to start your strongest lineup as your starting lineup, try and get the result, and then maybe you should be professional enough to see out a game. And Lamine started today. We saw the difference between the first half and the second half. He's infectious in how he plays for this team. And again, I'll say it, best player in world football. We've just seen it there in just 45 minutes worth of work. And you can see the difference in the drop-off in the second half. Yes, I know people would say, well, they're already 3-0 up at this point there. It's easy for them. They can take their foot off the gas a bit. But at the end of the day, we know now this new format we're seeing in the World Cup, that goals will play a part.
3 goals in the first half.
What team?
With him in the game.
With him in the game. And then, you know, now, obviously, you want to score as many goals as possible because that will come down as a factor moving forward in this tournament. But for me, it was a performance where, whether you like it or not, the headline is Lamine Yamal and the difference he makes and how he improves this Spain side.
We've talked about, though, and we'll talk about that difference with Lamine Yamal being on the field as opposed to being off the field. And here's what it looks like from a statistical point of view in the game. Obviously, 17 shots to 5. Lamine took a fair few of those. The chances created, the touches in the opposition box. Obviously, it is a completely different game state that the changes have to come into at the half. It was Yamal coming off, and Yeremy Pino came on. Ferran Torres also came on for Mikel Oyarzabal as well at halftime. But when we talk about Yamal, and Nigel, this is one of the things that you talked about, the sort of dependence. When we're talking about a player in Yamal who is working his way back from injury at this World Cup, plays 45 minutes after playing 15 in the first game. When you talk about a team that's this good, that has this much talent, and yet is still dependent on a singular player to be healthy, to be fit. Look, the greatest players in the world ultimately decide the outcomes of games. That has been the case for World Cups for years. But are you surprised at the degree to which Spain need this player to be healthy in order to be at their very best?
I must say I'm surprised because you look at the other names, the other players that they have available. They've got some top talent there. Olmo, you know, there's Saba up top. They've got some really good players, but I'm very surprised at the level of how much they need Lamine Yamal to be in this team right now. Because we talk about, again, Nico Williams coming in.
Particularly towards the end, I think we did have a lot of moments.
Hussein as the two up front for Iraq, who are all in white. France are all in blue, and they have Mignon in goal, Koundé at right back, Saliba, Upamecano. Luka Dean replaces Teo Hernandez at left back. Manu Kone comes in to replace Tchouaméni in the midfield. He will partner Rabiot in the that central midfield position, and then the three ahead of him, you've got Elise in the 10, Dembele, and also Bradley Barcola comes in for Doué. That's the other change behind Kylian Mbappe, who makes his 100th appearance for France. He is just the 10th Centurion, and the list of names ahead of him. Deschamps is ahead of him on 103 as Dean gets forward on that far side to left, down towards the byline, early ball into the box, and that was cut out by Hashim. One back in then by Kone, and Mbappe almost on the end of it, and it goes out for a goal kick. But obviously Hugo Lloris is the leading appearance maker with 105, but you've got, in no particular order, Vieira, Thuram, Giroud, Zidane, Griezmann, Henry, Desailly. Whoever is that 11th player, I don't care who it is. It could be Jules. That's one hell of a team.
It is an incredible team, and you don't get to 100 caps unless you're a good player, but also you have to be playing with a good team that managed to get to all the competitions and get to the finals and play a lot of games. So all those things in together tell you that that is a phenomenal team for the ages, and a nice moment for Iraq. They managed to get a kick at the ball there.
Yes, I've got a feeling after being in Atlanta yesterday, we've arrived here in Philadelphia via a flight to New Jersey, that it's going to have a similar feel in terms of the possession, that France will dominate, and Iraq have just got to try and keep them at bay for as long as possible. Mbappe with a good footwork, then back heels the ball, gets it back from Rabiot over on that far side. Elise in a central area, almost threaded the ball through to Rabiot, but Iraq managed to bring the ball clear, and on this near side it is now with Doski. You might well have seen his spectacular goal in the warm-up games where he scored from a tight angle against Spain to bring up his first goal for Iraq. But tough tackling left back, German-born, plays his football in the Czech Republic for Viktoria Pilsen. He's going to have, well, I think the entire back line are going to have a really busy evening here in Philadelphia for what is a 5 o'clock kickoff local time. Just had an update actually regarding the storms that we've been talking about, because we're yet to actually have a match that has been impacted by the weather. There is still a moderate risk of weather-related delays, in particular towards half-time, as Iraq coming forward. Then, just before the shot could get away, ball will run out of play on this near side. And our referee, incidentally, is Drew Fisher from Canada. He's the man in the middle with his orange referee's jersey and black shorts. He's told that the weather was 83 degrees, but it feels more like 88. But it's the high humidity.
It is the humidity, and that makes it like more difficult to play under. I'm very impressed by the Iraqi start. Now, they've set out allegedly as a 4-5-1. They usually play 4-4-2. But they look a lot more positive than that. They're playing a lot of players further forward than I expected. I was expecting a 4 or 5 and a lot of distance before you got up to Hussein up at the front. But in actual fact, he's getting lots and lots of support when the ball's played up here. They've not come just to make up the numbers, have they, Iraq?
No, they haven't. They've actually kept the same central midfield partnership of Ismail and Al-Amari. And it's Ismail's ball out towards that far side that was intercepted by Barcola running back, but playing just slightly ahead of them is Zidane Iqbal, who was actually born in Whalley Range, so he was part of the Manchester United Academy, a youth graduate. Didn't actually make any appearances during his time at Old Trafford, and has since moved to Utrecht and has lost his way somewhat this season. And yes, he is named after the French icon, but I think they're going to try and get him on the ball as much as possible. He's playing, well, he's trying to get in behind Kone.
Yeah, but he's finding himself really well marked in there. Kone's spotted that he could be danger. But I really like what they're trying to do. They're playing quite directly. They're getting the ball up to Hussein as often as they possibly can. As you say, they're trying. It's not complicated stuff. Little flick-ons here and there. And I suppose the other thing you have to remember if you're Iraq, the French started very slowly in the last game.
Yes.
They like to play themselves into the games. Well, that might leave a little window of opportunity, and I think they're trying to make good use of it.
But by doing so as well, you're taking pressure off your back line, aren't you, by offering a little bit of respite. There's nothing wrong with going direct. There's another forward ball is aimed towards Hussein, cleared by the French defence, headed back. This is Rabiot, just manages to get it away before Kassem could get there. Dean now plays it forward, and this is where Mbappe picks it up. This is where the acceleration kicks in. Oh, that was a cynical challenge, and a yellow card is straight away shown.
I don't think there's going to be many arguments over that one. I mean, Mbappe's pace it's kind of weird when there's a lot of quick players, and then you look at him, the way he moves, and it's one of those ones, he sticks the leg out, but he just leaves a lazy leg there, and there's no way the referee can do anything else other than yellow card for Al-Amari.
Yes, Al-Amari plays for Cracovia. Swedish-born defensive midfielder, no attempt to play the ball, blatant foul, free kick, yellow card duly shown. Elise with a free kick into the penalty area. Bounces off the chest. Ooh, was there a trip there? The referee had a good view of it. Upamecano was the player who was felled inside the penalty area. Just to say, this game is live on BBC television, so it gives you the option to watch as well as listen to the 5 Live commentary on the iPlayer or the BBC Sport website. Towards Mbappe, diagonal ball, and he looked for the instant layoff, leaping in the volley towards the supporting run of Dembele. He's gone behind for a corner kick, but already he looks like a man on a mission.
Well, he is a man on a mission. There's not even a shadow of a doubt about that. It was right on 1 minute where he had his first half a chance, chased the ball in from a wayward shot, but desperate to get these goals. And you just wonder about the players, you know, will they be trying?
Well, this must be a penalty, VAR checked out, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think it was, but they've got away with it, the Iraqis.
Yeah, the corner was held up momentarily. Now it's been taken short. Dembele, though, is challenged by Iqbal over on that far side.
It's a little bit of naivety there with the Iraqi team putting 2 out against 3 at a corner. The French didn't make as much of it as they could have.
Elise out to Dean. Dean with a first-time cross, and the goalkeeper punches it away. Dropped back in off the left foot of Elise, and then on the half volley, it was off target by Kylian Mbappe. Right-footed, screwed it wide, goal kick. 8 minutes played, 0-0.
Yeah, shooting sight, isn't it, though? Every time the ball comes near Mbappe, it doesn't matter if he's at an angle, a couple of players in front of him. he's almost a bit excitable. You know, don't do that. Just play your own game. I'm sure he will start playing his own game soon. But the very noticeable thing is by the way, we might have heard a boo there. I think that's because a certain Mr. Infantino turned up on the screen for a moment.
He was in Atlanta yesterday. Here he is in Philadelphia, the FIFA president. As Koundé on this near side, the right. Elise challenged very quickly. There were 3 white shirts there for Iraq. And now there's an opportunity for Ismail. No real pressure on the ball as he's midway through his own half. Central area. Finds Iqbal along the ground and out to this near side for Doski. And his diagonal forward ball bounces into the arms of Mike Maignan.
It is interesting when the alleged 4-5-1 is not playing that way at all. I mean, Kasim's playing up front alongside Hussein quite a lot. Yeah, when they lose the ball, you go back in there and help your teammates a little bit. But when they're on the ball, again, you can't underline it enough. It's pretty simple. It's basic stuff. It's don't do anything over clever. But as we're watching it now, look at it. It's 3v3 up front for the Iraqi team with the the wing back trying to sneak up there as well. This is really positive. I really like their attitude of not being fearful, sitting back, just taking what's coming to them. Really like that. They'll probably pay for it, but I kind of like the fact they're having a go.
But I guess it's better than just sitting back and waiting for the inevitable.
Well, when you watch the Senegalese playing against France, when they played such a high line, you thought, well, I wonder when you're going to get caught out, because you're going to. Because you put that amount of space behind the defenders, Mbappe will get in there. He's quicker than everybody else just about on the planet. But also because his movement is so clever as well, and he's got people who can find him, so it's a dangerous game.
They're managed by Graham Arnold, the Australian, as Dembele links up on the right-hand side. Dembele's low ball. Bardesh battles for it inside the penalty area. They've lost it. Comes out towards Rabiot. Rabiot passes the ball. This is Barcola. Dean on the overlap into his path, but then running out of defence on that far side is Tashin and puts the ball out of play for a France throw.
Yep, zipped up a little bit quickly there, but once again those white shirts were back in massive numbers there. They are working hard. They're having to work hard, the Iraqi team, but it's mostly control play by the French. And when their opposite number get the ball, they just move it very quickly, and it's generally back to front.
That's the voice of Pat Nevin on BBC Radio 5 Live, also available on the BBC Sounds app, as all in bright orange. Basil, the goalkeeper, clears downfield. Downward header then by Koundé, played forward by Iqbal, gives something to chase for Kasim, but he was beaten to it by Mike Maignan, all in yellow, and that ball will go out of play for an Iraq throw on this near side. 11 minutes played, 0-0, and yet to have a serious chance in this second group game to be played in Group I.
Yeah, but you can see the dangers, where the dangers are for France. They've tried to get Elise on the ball as much as possible, but there's not a lot of space in that 10 area where he wants to pick the ball up, so there's a limited amount of space just now. The Iraqis are not daft to make sure that area is covered, but Mbappe just looks lethal, he looks lithe, he looks ready for it, he looks desperate to score.
The ball will run through to Maignan, who's out of his penalty area, passes the ball for Luca Dean to get onto it, and this is incredible really. It's his first appearance at a World Cup after an absence of 12 years. His last appearance, and indeed his only prior appearance, was a goalless draw against Ecuador in 2014, because he was on the standby list for 2018 and then he was injured for Qatar 4 years ago. So after a good season for Aston Villa, it's his second appearance in a World Cup for France. Koundé up for Meccano, shuffles the ball inside towards Saliba, all in blue. 12.5 minutes played, 0-0. And France playing from left to right as we look now with Dembele. Koundé not utilised on the overlap. Dembele holds on to the ball, plays it short towards Mbappe. Back towards Dembele, shot takes a deflection, loops in the air. Goalkeeper and defender, a little bit of a mix-up, almost falls towards Elise, and Iraq get the ball away.
Lovely play there, intricate stuff there on the right-hand side, Dembele. And that's what they have to do, you know. Do something unusual, something different, something unexpected, and that's what they did in that kind of right wing area. Don't just lump it in the box. That's not the type of team they are, and they're beginning to find a few spaces. It just needs the Iraqi defence to turn off for a second. They have,
Wonderful skill by Mbappe, dances away once, twists and turns, pulls the ball back, Dembele lets it run through towards Elise. Shot is charged down, loops in the air, and then is headed out by Hashim.
It was almost an Ole there, wasn't it? It was very close to that when Mbappe was doing his little step overs and dummies. The crowd loved that.
They're playing better already, though, in these opening 13 minutes as Mbappe shoots! And Mbappe scores! Fabulous goal by Kylian Mbappe! The latest French centurion marks his landmark appearance with another World Cup beauty. 14 minutes played. France are ahead by a goal to nil.
Well, you just said they've started better. They were dialing it up there. They were moving it much more quickly. And you've seen the confidence that you were getting from various players, but Mbappe in particular, step overs, dummies, making a little bit of space there. But when it comes to him in the corner of the box, he is 20 yards out. And he is just, and it's an angle. It's almost a Mo Salah angle, if you understand that meaning. But there's no curl on it. It's a ping. It's direct. Keeper's expecting it to come towards him. He's got fingertips to it, but he's never stopping that. Brilliant goal by Mbappe, and that shoot on sight pass is kind of working for him.
So that is 51 goals in 53 and a bit games for club and country this season. And it is his 59th goal on his 100th appearance. And it also means that he leaves Gerd Müller behind him in leading goal scorers at a World Cup. He moves level with Ronaldo of Brazil, Miroslav Klose on 16, and after Messi in his brace earlier, he moves to within 3 of Lionel Messi. But there's just one big difference. He's still only 27.
And also he's got a few minutes left in this game. We're not turning it off yet, are we? The expectation is that, but look, he might not score another goal today, but I bet you any money he has a few shots on target.
Well, 4 in 2018, 8 in 2022, and already he's scored 3. And we'll bring in Julien Laurent in a moment here on BBC Radio 5 Live, but France are leading by a goal to nil, as this is Dembele. Dembele, remember, is still looking to break his duck, not just at a World Cup, but also at a major tournament. Today is his 20th appearance for France in a major tournament. But here is Dembele with a touch to Koundé. And that is Doski who's trying to get it away. He's helped out by Esch. So Jules, another stunner.
Yeah, left foot as well, and he went to see his dad, who is in one of the boxes here at the stadium, almost like if there'd been a bit of a bet there of can you score also with your left, because he hasn't scored that many with his left. It's not really that this kind of goal onto his left foot is not really anything that he's been used to doing, and yeah, he's also capable of scoring goals like that.
It was a belter. France are ahead. Iraq going forward. Save forward, diving by Maignan as a ball from the right-hand side looked to Hussein, the 30-year-old forward, who not only got the goal against Norway, but actually scored an own goal in that 4-1 defeat, which was the heaviest defeat in a World Cup match. They've lost all 4 at a World Cup, have Iraq. Their only previous time was back in 1986. They are already a goal down here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and you do wonder, like, if there wasn't these goals records to be talked about and considered and thought about all the time, would France, just take it easy now, you know, no need to rush it, but it doesn't feel like that. They want to score more.
Here is Elise, Koundé with a low ball into the penalty area. Mbappe was there, but equally so were the Iraqi defenders, and it was Hussein who managed to get the ball away as a Mexican wave sweeps around this stadium here in Philadelphia. Ball played through, that was alert defending, as Iqbal now threads it forward and looking for Doski, the right back. He was bundled over, and that will be a free kick to Iraq as they trail by a goal to nil. But he needed to be alert, because otherwise Mbappe was in the penalty area.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at a little bit of a shock for the Iraqi team. When you lose a goal, it's how you react right after that, because You can be panicked, you can be pushed back, and you're going to keep to your game plan. Well, actually, yeah, they have tried to. They're still leaving the number of players up. They're trying to impact this game in a positive way. So you do applaud them, but they're going to have some quality in the man-to-man marking at the back, because Elise looks up for it, Dembele looks up for it, and Mbappe clearly looks up for it. In fact, that front four just looks a bit special.
It does. We talked about the value market of that front four in the first game against Senegal the other day. When was that? Last Tuesday. The other interesting thing about the criteria that FIFA have changed for qualification, as a direct ball forward to Barcola into the penalty area, inside left channel. Barcola goes one way and then the other, down towards the byline. Barcola then sends over the cross. It might drop here towards Dembele, and then the header out by Bayesh, played back in by Koundé, repelled by the head of Hashim. Iraq battling for it, but then France win the ball back. It is goal difference and goals scored between teams in question. So France here today, yes, they would qualify with a win, but it wouldn't give them, they don't have to match the Norway results when they beat Iraq by 4-1. It'll be the meeting between the two of them that will determine who finishes top of the group in Group I. And the winners would play a third-place side, potentially, as it stands, Sweden. The runner-up would be looking at Ivory Coast in Dallas. And don't forget, there is that predictor on the BBC Sport website that is just brilliant to look at all the various permutations. And I would imagine, what are we now? This is game 2 of Group I, but as we get into the third set of group matches, it's going to get plenty more hits on the BBC Sport website as it looks at all 495 different combinations. France leading by 1-0. Elise's forward ball cut out though by Alamari in the midfield.
Do you know what, Ian? That's the problem I was mentioning, suggesting before. Did they start trying to find Mbappe when they shouldn't? And that's exactly what happened there on the left-hand side. The ball's got to go to Barcola. It doesn't. It's trying to find Mbappe, who's got 2 players on him. So, you know, stop. Do the right things. Having said that, I once done that myself, and I'll tell you about it later.
Barcola goes on a bursting run down towards the byline. From the byline, it's cut out by the right leg, outstretched by Zaid Tassin, out for a France throw.
Well, very quickly tell you, Kenny Douglas's 100th game for Scotland. He was on nearly record goals. That just kept on trying to pass.
Dean with a cross, punched away by Barzel, who is the Fabien Barthez lookalike. That was what was in my head for the ball-headed keeper. And he punched it away. But he's definitely got a look of the former French shot stopper, hasn't he? I bet they wish they had Fabien Barthez in goal.
I mean, you could almost question that, the first goal, but it was a lot of pace in it. Yeah, as Joe says, it's his left foot, you know, and he does get fingertips to it, but classically it's one of those ones that when you watch it in slow motion you think, well, he should get that. By the way, it zipped past him at a pace. I think he was lucky to get his fingers on it.
That's Pat Nevin who's with us. Rabiot now comes forward, finds Barcola inside the penalty area onto his right foot. It was a low ball. Elise was making the run and cleared away by Hashim. Doesn't go out of play. Dean keeps it in play, the left back for France. Here is Rabiot, snapping away at the heels of the French midfielder. Saliba then gives it back towards Rabiot. But you think how they struggled in the first half against Senegal, but it's been seamless here in this opening 22 minutes as the ball goes out wide to Dembele. Just popped up a little bit off his left foot, now allowed to send over the cross. There was a little nudge there by Hussein Ali, the right back, on Mbappe, who made the most of it, and the Iraqi supporters didn't like that, and there are a few jeers in the direction of Kylian Mbappe, but exaggerated form.
There's not a chance in the world that's a penalty kick. Mbappe knows what he's doing, never going to get to the ball, so he puts his body in the way and gets nudged over.
And now the boos are for the drinks break here, but that gives us the perfect opportunity for you to tell your Kenny Dalglish story.
Oh no, yeah, Phil, now just a 100th cap, and Kenny was on the same amount of goals as Dennis Law as the most goals scored for Scotland. And yeah, once we had the game won, all we wanted to do was get Kenny the ball, because you want him to get that record. So yes, it does. Even in international football, it does happen. You want to get these records, and you want to give a legend of your country these records.
So Pat Nevin to my left and Jules is to my right. Go on then, what is your summing up of the midway through the first half?
Well, I mean, we thought it could be the Mbappe show again because of this incredible record that he's chasing, now owned by Messi. It used to be the closer record, now it's the Messi record that is very much alive in this tournament. On his 100th cap too, we mentioned that. But I think I love the point that Pat made on that pass from Olise there. That should have gone to Barcola, who made a great run, and that's the good thing about Barcola, because Doué would have asked the ball into feet. That's what Doué does. Dembélé is a bit the same on the other side. Barcola brings you something different as long as you use it, of course. And in this instance, Olise looked for Mbappe because of that connection that they have, maybe because it's Mbappe and because, like Pat just explained, with those big stars, they want the ball all the time, they want to get fed, and maybe sometimes you overplay it, you overforce it because it's them. And what was interesting is as the players were walking towards the French bench for this drink break, Olise went to see Barcola. Very much it looked like to me to say, sorry, you're right, this one should have been for you, and I made the wrong call here.
You shouldn't keep on doing that, and I don't think they will keep on doing that, because in the end it doesn't help the player who's trying to score, because you're not giving him good ball.
Yeah.
You get the ball out to Barcola, he's going to take around something, he's going to create something for you anyway, so it's not a good way to play that game. But you know, I can see why there's a wee bit of, I was going to say desperation, that's not the right word, keenness to get the ball into him, and that's fine.
Whilst you two have been talking as well, I was just looking, there seems to be darker clouds to our left, but judging by the way the American national flag is flying at the side of that stand on the left-hand side, the weather's going to come from the right, where we've got brighter skies. But FIFA did say to us, as they're monitoring the weather, that we could have a little bit more storm activity towards half-time.
Yeah, I mean, your best friend, your new app about Fox News Philadelphia, or whatever it's called, or CBS, is telling us that those storms might be coming around 8 o'clock. If that's the case, we should be fine.
We would hope so. We will keep an eye on it. Norway-Senegal to come. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff in the morning back in the UK, and then Jordan-Algeria is at 4 o'clock. And tomorrow, England-Ghana is live from Boston. It's a 9 o'clock kickoff. It's also live on BBC One, so like this game, that means it gives you the opportunity to watch and then to listen to John Murray and Paul Robinson through the iPlayer and website. And you get all the build-up to England's second game against Ghana on 5 Live throughout the day tomorrow. But after the drinks break and being treated to some drummers in the green of the NFL side Philadelphia Eagles, who play their American football here in this very impressive stadium, the game is back underway. And they've made a change as well, have Iraq, and Ahmed Hussein has gone off. So he was looking to be just the third Asian player to score in the first 2 games of World Cup appearances. Fuad Anwar of Saudi Arabia and Junichi Inamoto of Japan are the other 2. But he has been replaced, and it is Al-Amadi who's come on to replace him.
You suspect that's an injury. It's got to be some sort of injury. You wouldn't. It was some very, very strange to do that this early in the game, and he hadn't done anything particularly wrong as far as I could see.
So the former Ipswich striker now plays for Luton Town, but he was hampered by a calf injury since his move to Kenilworth Road. Just 14 appearances and 1 goal, but he is on, and here he is with a touch of the ball out towards Bayesh. Bayesh cuts inside on the edge of the area. Iqbal passes the ball forward. This is now the left back. Doski with the cross. It's a good one in towards the penalty area, and caused a little bit of consternation as Al-Amadi tried to get on the end of it.
He's given a corner kick. Obviously, they're going to have a little look at that to make sure, one way or the other. Bit of a confusion there, and he's changed his mind. It's a goal kick after all. But yeah, again, start after the rehydration breaks. It's quite a big thing how some teams do really adapt very, very quickly after these breaks, you know, try and change the narrative of the game and the feel of the game. That's what Iraq have tried to do here. They've tried to get in the front foot again after there was a period of 10 minutes, but let's be fair, we were getting a crick in our neck looking down to the right because it was all France.
Well, they've certainly shown a little bit more ambition than Saudi Arabia were able to do against Spain in Atlanta yesterday. Al-Amadi, who's 6'2", and when he was at Ipswich, actually in the Premier League, he was the first Iraqi to play in the Premier League when he was there at Portman Road. But Iraq trailed by 1-0. France are 1-0 up and still very, very comfortable. Here is Upamecano. Elise. Tight triangular passing patterns from the French players in blue. This is Dembele, strokes it. Saliba comes onto the ball just outside the centre circle. Rabiot then finds Dean, the left back, as they work across the playing surface, and then the ball is hit from left back and it's away from Barcola, and that will run out of play for a goal kick. Pat Nevin.
No need to play that quite so long there from the French team. When they, not slowly, but when they build it in a kind of very deliberate way from the back, they find themselves across the 18-yard line with that very considered low block that they always will find themselves. But there's no need to play it that early, that long, that early, because if you do it and it doesn't work, it gives a real bit of respite to the opposition. So it's strange giving the ball away so easily there.
France 1-0 up. Atmosphere's a bit subdued, isn't it?
Yeah, died down a little bit. Funnily enough, it's when they're talking about the rehydration breaks. I'll tell you about that in a moment, because there's a little break for Iraq.
Ball over the top. This is Alamadi who holds it up, waits for the supporting run. It comes from Ismail, passes the ball out wide. Hussein Ali joins the attack. Ismail then gives it back out towards the Iraqi right back, who sends over a cross. It's charged down from Dean and goes behind for an Iraq corner as they trail only by a goal to nil. Corner kick far side the right.
Well, sometimes you've got a flow of a game, and that was always a big worry about these breaks. You know, they happen in every single game, so the flow changes or the flow stops. And it actually happens to the fans sometimes as well. Unless something happens very, very quickly after the break, they almost take a little bit of a break, the fans as well. So, but this is the second corner since that 22.5-minute break that the Iraqi team have had, and that'll give them a real lift. What a difference it would make to this place if they could manage to score.
It certainly would. Alamara is the player who's gone across to take it. Pats, meanwhile, is trying to attract the attention of a rather burly gentleman in front of him who stood up. He doesn't help by sporting a baseball cap as well, obscuring Pat's view.
I didn't actually need to tell him, because the Iraqis hadn't been up there that often, but they're up there now.
So it's a corner kick, far side the right. It's an in-swinger, delivered towards the far post. And has it been kept in play by Bayesh? Well, he did, but he only then gave it away to Koundé. It'll be a throw. Can I just say as well, the way that he prodded him with a bottle of water was brave.
No, actually I tickled him with it. I think he thought it was a fly.
Was that a Scottish tickle?
Yeah, do you know what? If he didn't move quickly, there's no problem. He'd get the bottle of water thrown over him.
Koundé, just remind me never to get tickled by you. France are 1-0 up. We've been playing just past the half hour.
We get the words tickle and tackle mixed up sometimes.
Ball through. Barcola makes the run. The bounce of the ball went across his body and then took him a little bit further out wide left. In towards Mbappe, the goal scorer. France are 1-0 up. This is Dembele, was winding up to shoot there from distance. Instead, he passes the ball back towards Barcola. Dembele, instead of trying to find the ball to Mbappe, they should be trying to give it to Dembele if he can break his duck. Poor fella. Here he is. Mbappe, though, winds up to shoot. Block came in on this occasion from Iqbal, but they can't hold on to the ball. Dean gives it towards Rabiot. But again, they're looking very easy on the eye of France. Here is Dean now, low ball in, easily cut out though by Tassin, the central defender, and Iraq then can clear through Hussein Ali. But it's a high, lofted ball, and it only goes as far as Saliba. And guess what? The ball's going to come back again.
The obvious thing about France is they're playing really nicely. They're passing it well. The skill set, I was going to say of the front four, but you know, all of the players there is pretty special. But, and here's the but, there's more gears, aren't there? You can feel there are gears that they can take it up. It's easy if they need to, if they lost a goal or whatever. Yeah, they can go well beyond what they're playing just now. And that's with them playing well and completely dominating the vast majority of this match.
Well, France are at a nice, gentle walking pace here in the humid conditions of Philadelphia. And they're leading by a goal to nil. This is Kone, silently effective. Just sitting there, the ball squirms its way out towards the left-hand side. Dean with the cross, comes off the head of Hussein Ali, and then that was cool defending by Doski, the left-back, towards Ahmed Bazil, the Iraq goalkeeper. You know who Ali Al-Hamadi replaced? It was Ayman Hussein, who got the goal, they've got a combined worth, those two players, of £2.35 million. That's probably the right leg, or indeed the right toe, of Kylian Mbappe.
It is extraordinary difference that the quality, and also the quality shows. I mean, if you're 100 times more expensive than another player, doesn't mean you're 100 times better, but it doesn't mean you're a lot better.
Kone did well to break up the move, passed the ball to Elise, out to Mbappe, unable to get it through to Barcola, and it picked up by the goalkeeper, all in orange. Still just the one goal. I wonder if many people expected, with that goal from Mbappe after 14 minutes, and pardon the pun, bearing in mind that we're on storm watch, but for the floodgates to open.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have been surprised, and especially the fact that when they can get forward, the Iraqi team get forward, so you expect there to be spaces, but they're so well drilled, they're impressively well drilled. This will be harder and harder and harder for the Iraqi team as the game goes on. If they keep on trying to break as much as they try to break just now when they got on the ball, getting back is going to be tough for them.
As we look away towards our right and see that naval yard by the Delaware River, you can just in the distance see that the rain is falling away to that right-hand side. That's where the weather's coming from, as Dembele was unable to keep the ball in play. They are so accurate with the weather forecasts here in the United States.
They kind of have to be. Dangerous stuff over here.
1-0 still to France. Iraq with Hashim. Plays on the left-hand side of that central defensive partnership. This is Iqbal. Nice little turn, nice little link-up play as well. Up to Bayesh on the halfway line, holds up, and then goes out of play, and it will be, well, he thought it was an Iraq throw. Graham Arnold, I don't think was necessarily convinced that it was, as the Australian in charge of Iraq was more concerned that the white shirts were back in defensive positions as we edge our way towards half-time with 10 minutes remaining. Rabiot's having his shirt pulled there by Al-Amadi.
I'm watching the way the Iraqi team are playing just now. I think Iqbal's looked really nice and tidy on the ball. I'm actually very impressed with Doski, left full-back. I mean, he's been done a few times on the wing, as you would do against that quality. But when he's been on the ball, he's looked really smart, comfortable, confident in the ball. I've been impressed with the left full-back for Iraq.
Barcola, far side to left, and Mbappe manages to skip out of one challenge that was coming in from Ismail. He still tracks him, goes out for a throw on the left. But Dean has just tossed the ball away there because it wasn't going in favour of France, and instead it will be an Iraq throw that they are in no real hurry to take. I mean, that's the thing, they're only a goal down, but already they're just quite happy to go, tell you what, we're killing time.
Yeah. I don't know, but I think they will get forward when they can. I mean, there's no point in going 100 miles an hour and leaving those gaps at the back. And as I say that, the heavens open. Happily, we've got a little bit of a cover, but not many others have.
No. There's only the two stands, this stand and the stand opposite, that right at the very back have you got the canopy covers, and a little bit like a crowd reacting at Wimbledon when it first starts to rain and everybody starts reaching for the brollies and the ponchos. That's what's happened elsewhere around the stadium here, and it is now all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's like somebody's just turned on the shower and it's pouring down.
So you know, players have been relieved by it, Ian. It's a lovely feeling, as long as you don't get the thunder and lightning with it as well, but it'll cool them down. You know, it'll change the game as well, because the ball will zip across the surface much better.
Well, the only thing I would say is that because of the fact that we haven't had an alert, there can be no storm activity within at least 16 miles of this stadium, as France still lead by 1-0. And bizarrely, with now dark skies and the rain falling, it's more of a picturesque scene in the stadium because of the array of colours that we've got of the ponchos that everybody's brought with them, as this is an opportunity for France. And it was Barcola who was making a direct run, and it was deflected on its way through to Elise, and they've cleared it.
Ian, I think he's done it again. The shot is on there. The shot is on there. He's ran 50 yards, they backed off him. You're only in the 18 yards out, and you try to slide the ball through of an eye of a needle to try and get Mbappe in. They're ruining their chances of getting a good score here by always trying to find Kylian. You find him when he's on. It's okay. His chances will come.
Dembele looking for the return ball from Elise. Challenge comes in, cleared by Iraq. Rabiot then will get it back once more. The scene now, particularly the bottom tier around the stadium, resembles that of a nursery school's wall, where you've got the different colours of the yellow, the lemon red, the green, the blue. Just the little splodges that are dotted all the way around this stadium for the brave souls who have remained. Some made a hasty retreat for some shelter, and there aren't many places that has got shelter inside this stadium here in Philadelphia. 6 minutes to go to half-time. France are leading by a goal to nil. Koundé at right back strokes it, but it's a gentle pace, and that this is how much they're in control, even though the margin is only the one goal. This is Upamecano now to Rabiot. Upamecano over the halfway line, lay off by Elise. Kone looked to Koundé, who was ahead of him. Then they lose the ball midway through the Iraq half. Bayesh brings it away, runs up towards the halfway line. Rabiot made the challenge and caught Bayesh. Referee says play on. Elise runs straight into Ismail, who wins the ball back for Iraq, and then they give it away. And then Mbappe has gone for an outrageous effort. Just outside the centre circle. What vision! Because he saw that Ahmed Basel was off his line. He hit it instinctively right-footed, and it was just off target.
You know, the tackle before, they were looking for a free kick. Actually, Rabiot got the ball nice and clean. But it's the angle that comes to Mbappe there. He's facing away from goal. It comes to him, it's on the half volley. How on earth does he know what's 50 yards behind him? That would have been an absolute genius piece of play had it gone in. And you're really disappointed for him that it didn't, because it would have been a very, very memorable moment.
The rain is falling with even greater intensity, as all in orange. Basel, shining like a beacon down below, clears it away. I remember Chris Waddle scoring an absolute belter from not far from the halfway line at Goodison Park for Bradford City against Everton. But that would have been undoubtedly one of the goals that could have ended the conversation.
Do you know, they're really interesting, but we've seen long ones. I mean, Kenny McLean scoring for Scotland against Denmark.
Yeah.
But why this was special was because he was facing away from the goal when it came to him. And because of that, you think, well, he can't see what's behind him. Yes, he can. Swiveled on the half volley and just got slightly too much on it. It was on target, as in between the posts, sadly, over the bar.
Torrential rain sweeping in here in Philadelphia. France are leading by a goal to nil. Mbappe, what a turn that was by Mbappe! And then a last-ditch tackle, just as he was about to pull back the right foot and dink it in. Challenge comes in and stops him. And he puts the hands on the back of his head, almost in frustration, because he could see that he was so close to that second goal after the wonderful turn.
I mean, it is absolutely fantastic. There was a great drag back, and then he's pulled it away from the defender, who, has to be said, has made a great first tackle, and then an absolutely brilliant second. I think that was Hussein Ali there in the right back area. That was magnificent defending, because Mbappe was away there after his first beautiful piece of skill.
3 minutes to go to half-time. And in these worsening weather conditions, and bearing in mind that at the very start of the game, I talked about the skyline of that of the skyscrapers to my left. I can hardly make them out now, because the cloud is starting to sink that low. Can hardly make out the naval yard as well to the right-hand side, which is where this coming from. And I've got experience of the storms in Orlando in England's warm-up games a couple of weeks ago, and I think we'll do well to avoid a storm here.
Yeah, it kind of feels like, I mean, it is a storm in some ways because of the amount of rain it's hammering down. It's not affecting the play because it's just coming down like a shower, as you described it perfectly. It is like standing in the shower, and there's lots of fans around just taking pictures of themselves in it. Because it's not cold or anything, it's fine. You will dry out eventually.
Ball goes back to Basel, the goalkeeper. Still 1-0 to France. BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds app. Bizarrely, the atmosphere has actually improved because the supporters are singing in the rain. I think they're wanting to make light of the situation that they are finding themselves in with 2 minutes to go to the break. Kone again cuts the ball out towards Barcola. Barcola now plays it forward, and the layoff by Mbappe was slightly behind Dembele and allowed Hashim to bring it away. Iqbal does the nice little turn to keep the ball for Iraq. In passages of play, they've been good in possession.
That's the point I was making before. I'm actually really impressed. Now, that's not to be dismissive of them. They're an international team. They've managed to qualify for the World Cup. They have played a lot of games to get here. There are good technical players out there, but you think, come on, the gap between them and France would be gigantic. And in the final third, it is. But when they're on the ball, they are really neat, really tidy, comfortable on it, willing to take players on and move very, very intelligently for each other. Really impressed with what they've done so far. And coming towards half-time, 1-0 down, they kind of probably deserve to just be about that far down. They have not been outclassed the entire time.
Al Hamadi of Luton Town holds the ball up. Kone fouls him, gives away a free kick. Central position, 30 yards out from goal. I can now not even see the skyscrapers to my left. If it continues like this, I'll struggle to see the baseball stadium. It's about a stone's throw away from the end away towards our left-hand side. 1-0 to France, free kick to Iraq, 5 live.
It's not having a massive effect on the pitch, other than it zips across it much more quickly. Seen a couple of players slipping and sliding. Remember, the studs you want to be wearing will be different now than they were at the start of the game, so we shall see who manages in the second half.
You brought your multicoloured ponchos, but this must be the most expensive shower that these supporters have sat in, given the price of tickets to see this World Cup here in the rain. France leading by a goal to 0. Just wonder if long way out from goal as to whether they're going to have a pop at this. It's swung over, it's a deep one aimed towards Hashim from the back, cleared by Dean, and then running back is Ismail, who will retrieve it.
Again, impressed by the Iraqis. How many players did they put up for that? Everybody except one goes up there on the pitch to try and, when you get those little half chances, an opportunity to put the ball in the box, and you know, it might need a little bit of luck at deflection, something like that, but they want to make sure that they've got the personnel in there. And they're doing it quite a lot. Again, they're second best by a distance, but they're not really cowed by it, are they? They keep on playing their football.
That's Pat Nevin here with us on BBC Radio 5 Live. We're in stoppage time. There are 3 minutes, a minimum of 3, where France are only leading by a goal to 0. And whilst there is just that slender scoreline, they've got to get the 3 points to see them to qualify, to then set up that final match on Friday in Boston for that group decider against Norway. Norway, who are playing in New Jersey against Senegal. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff.
I'm sure I'm hearing thunder in the background. And lots and lots and lots of it. Unless that's drummers. It could be a drummer. That wasn't very funny. He's trying to make his drum sound like thunder. Got us watching.
I keep checking the app. We'll get the notifications. Don't worry when it's within 16 miles. Here is Ismail. Up it goes to Al Hamadi with a cast on his right wrist. Runs over to that far side, the right. Kone goes with him. Plays the ball back inside. And then Barcola back with Elise helped out. Press comes from Iraq. Saliba on the swivel. Out to Dean, the left back, left corner of his own area to Maignan. And all in yellow, he passes the ball short to Upamecano.
Yeah, and again, they're not falling back right away, the Iraqi team. They're leaving one up top, 3 behind him, trying to stay in their own half. And that's why I don't think the French should play it forward too quickly, because that is almost what Iraq want them to do. If they play as they are doing now, the French team have learned this, yeah, play it calmly, go through the motions, go through the thirds, and get the ball in the final 18-yard, 20-yard sort of area of the pitch, and then they can start playing their tricks.
There will be no half-time analysis from inside the stadium, because we've been issued with a weather update that we have got to clear the stadium bowl due to lightning threats. Nobody pitch side or in outdoor spaces, only inside. So for the first time at this World Cup in 2026, the weather is going to have an impact inside the stadium, and there indeed is the half-time whistle, and the players will leave very, very quickly. And due to the lightning strikes, just to remind you of the protocol that is in place, because here comes the weather warning. Please exit the open seating area, seek shelter in the stadium as directed by staff, because it means that there is now thunder and lightning that has been detected within 8 miles, and therefore we now have to take shelter. So for the first time, there is a severe thunderstorm that is approaching here in
as well. He came into the game, another winger, but he doesn't have the same influence and aura that Lamine seems to have presented to this Spanish side. So for me, it is a bit of a worry. And as you said about the greats, the top players will be able to make games and decide games. He is a great already, and he's still so young.
He's 18.
That's the scary thing about it. But you'd have to say he is a great. And Marcelo said it earlier in the early segment. Spain rely on him as much as Argentina rely on Messi. That's already to say. You're talking about two great nations, historic nations who've already won World Cups. He is at that level now where Spain rely on him to be on that pitch, to really have that extra boost and confidence and to help them get over the line.
Yeah, I think when you look at throughout history of soccer, teams, special teams have that player. Brazil relied on Neymar. Argentina relies on Messi. Croatia relied on Modric. So, I mean, you can keep going down the list. In his heyday, Portugal relied on Ronaldo. So you can keep going down. United States relies on Christian Pulisic. So I think when you look at special players like him, when he's on the field, it's just a different level. You've got to raise your level to what he's doing, because if not, I mean, he's out there by himself. He's on his own island. But every team has that one player. If they're making a run, if they're going to make a run at this World Cup, that one player, their special player, France Mbappe, they rely on Mbappe. So I think throughout the history of soccer, you can see that kind of thing. When you look at Spain, we're used to the teams from the past. I mean, Xavi, I mean, you can keep going. Iniesta, you can keep going.
Multiple players in that team, yes.
And Argentina, Maradona, they had multiple players, a few. But when you look at this team, they've got good players, but not great players that can win you a game. And this is the guy. And you can see when he's on the field, when Messi's on the field, even when Modric's on the field, their teams go to another level. And I think that's what we saw the first 45 minutes.
Well, we saw it in the second half as well. We saw the drop-off in the second half. And, we saw the stats earlier and the difference in what they did and how aggressive they were in the first half to the second half. And even with the eye test as well, you got the feeling in the game. First 10 minutes in the second half, it was great how Spain looked. And then after that, it was just a massive drop-off. The same enthusiasm, energy, and quickness, it just wasn't there. Saudi Arabia tried to get back more into the game. But for me, match winner. That's just the best way to describe him compared to Spain. Like Marcelo said, they've got very good players, but he is a match winner. There isn't that many match winners in this Spain squad compared to him.
Let's talk a bit about Saudi Arabia, because they still have that one game left in the group against Cabo Verde, which could potentially decide everything for them. When we talk about a Saudi project, they're going to host this thing in 8 years. They put so much money into their domestic league. And yet, really, after that first half against Uruguay, they hung on that second half to get to a point. And here, they looked off the pace, certainly in comparison to Cabo Verde, the way that they played Spain. Where do you think they sit in this group, or do you think they have any chance of advancing now?
Difficult, but they do have a great opportunity in the last game, because who knows if they can play the way Cabo Verde played against Spain that well. Now you put yourself, when you got a number one team playing here, you're fighting, you're scratching, you're intense, you're concentrated. Now you level out the playing field. I think Cabo Verde or maybe know that they can beat Saudi Arabia. They can give them a game. So they're going to open themselves up a little bit more. And that's going to be, I think, where Saudi Arabia has a good chance. They're very good on counterattacks. We saw they got in a few times on a counterattack against Spain. But I'll be this. I think either one has a great opportunity. It's going to come down to the last game. We know it's going to come down to the last game. But, well, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think it'll come down to the last game. And I think that'll be a very good game, very even game, one of the most even games we'll see. And a little bit of luck. We'll see who wins. But that's probably one of the most even games we'll see in this World Cup.
Great opportunity for both nations. I will slightly favour Cabo Verde. I think for me that when you look at what they've done so far, how they've performed and everything about them and the progression they've shown, and history beckons is the best way to put it. And I think that not many opportunities.
You've only seen them play one game and you're already putting them
No,
one
because
game. What happens if they come out against Uruguay?
I'm going back to Cabo Verde in the African Cup of Nations, the progressions that I've seen, and I've always been high on them. They've got a very good manager, and for me, I think that they've got a real good opportunity. And it's not just on that game with Spain, because this is before that. This starts on how they've progressed so well, developed in the African Cup of Nations, challenging the big boys of the continent of Africa, and they've come good through it. So I think that for me, I slightly
Nutella ice cream makes us a spoonful happier. 'Cause you give me the Discover the incredible taste of Nutella in every spoonful. Nutella ice cream, a spoonful of happiness.
do favour them.
What did Lamine bring that was so desperately missing from this team?
Where do we start? I think all the players and the management team before the start of the game said they needed to be more intense in this game. They needed to move the ball quicker. The ball circulation had to be a lot smarter, a lot sharper. And we saw that Lamine Yamal brought that intensity. Inside the first minute, there was a dribble and a run and an attempt. I think his first 20 minutes are absolutely brilliant. Then it's true that he drops off a little bit and he goes off at half-time. He is not fully fit. But make no mistake about this. This is being set up, certainly here in Spain. This is Lamine Yamal's World Cup. The front page of one of the top-selling sports papers in Spain today, the front page was just a picture of Lamine Yamal's smiling face, and the headline was, "Do your magic, haz tu magia." There's a lot of pressure. There is a lot of expectation on a guy who's still a teenager. Let's not forget, he's still a teenager. He's only the second player, 18 or younger, to open the scoring at a World Cup match. The other was Pelé when he was 17 in 1958. He's still incredibly young. He is ridiculously precocious. He is absurdly talented. And he's not yet 100% fully fit. So it was really important for him to come in, score. I think for him, it's really important for him to score. He saw all the other superstars score in this World Cup, show what he can do, get 45 minutes under his belt, and work towards being 100% for the Uruguay game and then the knockout stages.
Phil, we're in the studio and have an opinion of Lamine Yamal saying that he's as important to this Spain national team as Messi is to Argentina. So is that something that you'd co-sign and agree on, or is that the feeling in Spain itself as a nation?
Yeah, it is the feeling, certainly. I think you're right about that. There's genuinely a feeling that Spain are a really great team, a really great unit, and they have this difference maker in Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal is who makes Spain real candidates. And without him, if they were to lose him, if he was to relapse on the injury, remember it's a difficult muscular injury with a 30% chance of relapse. If he was to relapse emotionally, it would be a massive, massive blow for Spain. Forget about the footballing things. Emotionally, it would be absolutely huge. I mean, we're talking about a player I think he's played 26, 27 games for Spain. He scored 7 goals for Spain. It's not as if he's completely blown away all the opposition. He's not their leading goal scorer. He's not their main goal threat. And yet he is the difference maker. He is the one that can unlock defenses. And that's so important for the way that Spain play. We know the way Spain play. And Spain on a bad day, which is what we saw against Cape Verde, absolutely desperately cries out for someone like Lamine Yamal. So he is really, really important, what he brings footballing wise, but also kind of like emotionally as well. I think the players, the fans certainly feel like we've got Lamine Yamal. He's our guy. And if we need him, he's the one that can make a difference.
Why are you smiling so much?
I just love the way Phil tried to say Spain on a bad day against Cape Verde. I like how he sneaked that one in there.
But that was going to be my question. Cape Verde.
It wasn't a good day, was it?
No, but Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, that back line that hasn't been tested yet, really hasn't been tested. How good is that defense, and how well will we see them play throughout the tournament? Because they got to play Uruguay next, and it only gets more difficult from here.
I think it's a good question. They haven't been tested. I think, Unai Simon in goal has definitely played more of the ball with his feet than he has with his hands. He's barely had any saves to make. It's a centre-back pairing of Aymeric Laporte and Pau Kubasi. It's a blend of youth and experience, one which we didn't necessarily 100% know was going to be the centre-back pairing for the World Cup before the squad announcement. But at the moment, it seems to be working pretty well. I like what happened today with the fullbacks. I like that Pedro Porro came in at right back to replace Marcos Llorente against sort of deep defences. He's really good going forward. Gives a lot of depth to the attack, and his deliveries are brilliant. So I think it's a pretty solid back line. And in front of them, you've got Rodri as well, and Pedri, whose defensive contributions have increased enormously since he started playing a little bit more deeper with Barcelona. So I think they're pretty solid, but you're absolutely right. They have barely been tested at all. And let's see if they get a bit more of a workout against Uruguay in the final game.
Phil, what's your opinion on Dani Olmo starting today and what he brings to this national side and the difference he makes?
I'm glad you asked me that, Nigel. We didn't agree what questions you were going to ask, but I was thinking, I hope he asked me about Dani Olmo, because I thought he was brilliant today, and I thought that him coming into the midfield completely changes the structure, and him in that kind of position, he is the player that Spain need in that kind of position. He knows exactly where he needs to be. In those tight areas where there really isn't much space, he is exactly the kind of player you need. And then don't underestimate the kind of understanding he has with playing alongside Pedri and Lamine Yamal week in, week out at Barcelona. They do have a brilliant understanding. Both Olmo and Lamine have spoken about how much they like playing alongside each other. Of course, Olmo coming into the side meant that Pedri played a little bit further back. And I just thought that the team was really, really well set up today. And I was looking at the sofa scores at the start of the segment and saw that Dani Olmo got a 7.4, which I think is decent. I would have added maybe a couple of more decimals to that, because I thought he was really, really good. And I think he has to start now. And I think that has to be the midfield. Obviously, it can change in terms of the opponents and the different kind of games. But against teams that are going to sit deep, where there isn't going to be a lot of space, I think Pedri playing behind and Olmo playing in that number 10, attacking midfielder, whatever role you kind of want to call it, I think he is the person for that. And obviously, you've got Mikel Merino to come off the bench as well to change things up if you need a slightly different dimension to the attack from that position. But yeah, really, really impressive, Dani Olmo.
Delivery, you in?
I'm in. Yeah, I well fancy a fillet of fish. Expand your palate.
Bring it home with McDelivery. We don't wear the same kit. We don't tackle the same challenges.
Today.
And the one player that we have somehow not discussed is the player who gets a brace in the game. That, of course, being Mikel Oyarzabal, who leads the line. And he is not a very heralded player, but he has always done his job for the Spanish national team. What, in your mind, is the job that he does, leading the line and playing off of the talents that surround him?
I mean, he's a goal scorer, Chris. It's a really good record. He's got 27 goals in 55 games. He is low-key, under the radar. It's probably because he plays for Real Sociedad. He doesn't play for one of the big Spanish sides, so people don't necessarily watch him week in, week out. But he didn't start his career as a number 9. At Real Sociedad, he's played alongside the likes of Sorloth, alongside Alexander Isak. He started off playing maybe a little bit wider, maybe as a number 10, and he's kind of morphed into this number 9. His movement and his mobility allow him to move into spaces which allow other people to occupy the number 9 space. And he's okay, we didn't see it against Cape Verde, but in theory, he's a really good finisher. He is bang in form, super full of confidence as well. He's got an unbelievably strong shot, and I actually think he's got a good shot from distance as well, which we haven't necessarily seen too much from the World Cup, but that can be important in breaking down kind of deep defenses as well. So he's very unheralded. I'm actually surprised because he's got a buyout clause. Real Sociedad fans won't thank me for saying this. He's got a buyout clause, about 75 million euros, 70 million euros, which isn't that much for like a top striker. He's leading, he's starting for Spain at the World Cup. He scored loads of goals for them. And it's not a huge amount of money for a 28-year-old striker in his prime. But anyway, I'm a fan of Mikel Oyarzabal, and, he scored 2 important goals today.
Put yourself, and also Williams needs to be healthy. That would help this team too.
Yeah.
Give me your best 11. If you were going against Uruguay, what's your best 11 right now?
So Unai Simon, I think the starting 11 that we saw today. Unai Simon starting in goal, Pedro Porro, Laporte, Cubarsí, and Cucurella at the back. It has to be Pedri and Rodri in midfield with Olmo ahead of them. Lamine, let's see him start. Let's see him play at least 60 minutes, 60, 75 minutes. They're being cautious with him. He's desperate to play every minute that he can, but they're being cautious. Let's see if Nico Williams can start with Mikel Oyarzabal up front. I think that's the gala 11 for Spain. Whether we see it against Uruguay or later on in the tournament remains to be seen. But Nico Williams getting back to full fitness, it would be a big, big boost if he could start against Uruguay.
And who stops Valverde?
Well, a combination of players. Maybe you might want to think about bringing Marcos Llorente back in at right back to try and help.
Or even Ruiz.
Rodri, but yeah, or even Fabian Ruiz. But, I think Spain won't necessarily be thinking about that. I think they'll be thinking about sort of front foot and trying to replicate the kind of performance that they did today. With the speed of passing, it is so important for Spain not to play those slow lateral passes that go nowhere, to move the ball quickly, one touch and move. And that's what we saw today. And it was really, really impressive. And that's what they got to keep doing.
Some absolutely fantastic moments of this World Cup so far. The United States getting back-to-back victories to start it. Curacao getting a point. Lionel Messi with a hat trick for Argentina as they open up their World Cup. And here are some of the other great moments we've seen so far. We've seen Cabo Verde, we've seen Curacao get points, Jordan and Uzbekistan making their debuts at the tournament, Messi on a hat trick, Canada getting their first ever World Cup win by 6-0 over Qatar, and the U.S. men's national team winning back-to-back matches at a World Cup for the first time since the first World Cup in 1930. And as a result, we want to bring you some of our favorite moments of the tournament so far in greater detail. And I believe, Nigel, we are starting with you, and we can only start with one place in Atlanta when Spain took on Cabo Verde and drew 0-0.
Yes, Cabo Verde. I'm a dreamer, Witty. I played this game. I love it. I love an underdog story. You talk about Cabo Verde and how far they've come in such a short space of time. And to get a result against Spain, World Cup debutants, it is fantastic to see. When you look at how small this nation is and what they've achieved, that there is just historic. And Vozinha there, the goalkeeper, that is the story for me. It's great. We didn't know it watching the performance. We saw how emotional he got towards the end. We come to find out his mother wasn't able to go there to watch him in this historic moment, not just for his nation, but personally for himself as well. And then now, obviously, the beauty of football and the storytelling and the stories that every player has. His mother now should be able to get a visa to come and watch him in the World Cup. And he had a great game against Spain as well. So I think that's a moment for me of football. It's more than just a game, and it sometimes goes beyond the game to the human element and the human side of it as well. So that's my moment so far.
And he's going to transition from being a brilliant goalkeeper to an Instagram influencer at some point, because he's got twice as many Twitter or Instagram followers as Patrick Mahomes or whatever. 13.5 million, 14 million. What's he at now? It's bonkers. But yeah, obviously an incredible story in its own right.
And that's the beauty of football.
Yes.
That is the beauty
and how
of football.
big football is massive.
It's the world's game.
Yes.
And I guarantee he's got followers from all over the world because of what they've done and the history that he's made and how he performed. And
What
it's
other sport? What other sport?
No other sport can do that.
Nothing. Do this.
No other sport.
Let's be honest.
And honestly, no other event, even like for as big as the Champions League is, for as big as, I mean, the World Cup is...
The closest you can get maybe is the Olympics.
Yes, that is true. That is
you
true.
have to have it, but football is the world's game, and it's just beautiful to see.
Yeah. It was fantastic for Cabo Verde, and it's kind of incredible that we're starting off this segment. We're talking about great things that have happened at the World Cup with a pair of 0-0 draws, because the next up is Curacao against Ecuador, and Curacao hanging on for a point in that match as well in their first ever, or their second ever World Cup game.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about a country that qualified for the first time, historically they score against Germany. You know what I mean? And how they celebrated. To watch those young men walk out and so proud of their country, tears, emotional as the national anthem's being played, to represent your country in the biggest sporting event in the world. Fantastic last night. Just, it's so wonderful to see more. It's more than just soccer, like Jürgen's talking about. This is about a country. Yesterday, after they tied, they showed a great scene in the locker room where the Queen and the King were dancing with the team. They're all dancing and celebrating. And you know, soccer is such a beautiful sport. It unites people. It brings people together. And watching that yesterday just, I think, made a lot of people happy to think that it's more than just soccer nowadays.
Yeah, and it's more than just soccer in terms of not only for the team and in terms of what they're feeling, but also for a nation. I'm not certain that without a World Cup that a lot of people would know where Curacao is or would know anything about the country. I might go on a Caribbean vacation, but that's sort of if I'm getting exotic.
I've been there. Beautiful country.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure I would love to go someday.
A lovely cigar there too as well.
I'm sure. I'm sure. You never miss a chance. You never miss a chance on a lovely cigar. But I mean, it is incredible to put an entire country on a map, never mind a soccer team, never mind a group of 11 players.
Listen, we talk about what soccer does and how beautiful it is. And when you talk about coming together, and listen, let's be honest, let's be straight up. Cabo Verde, did anybody think they were going to tie or win a game?
He does. He's been on Cabo Verde the entire time.
Cabo Verde,
okay. A lot of people, the majority of the people didn't think they were going to do much. Let's be honest. Curacao, did we really think Curacao was going to do anything? No. But that's the beauty of the World Cup. The beauty of the World Cup is you never know. You can't win it by putting names on a piece of paper and say their roster is better than ours. You got to go out with heart and passion and believe, and that's what we've seen in these two games.
Yeah, and they were fantastic in the game against Ecuador, and could easily have gone and won it. They had a period of the first half where they played good stuff. It was the same with Cabo Verde. They had that header late on in the game where they could have won it as well.
15 saves.
Goalkeeper. Yeah, Eloy Rowe. We got to talk about Eloy Rowe.
Where are we?
He equaled
Tim Howard's
record. It's a 15 or 16 saves. We still don't know yet. But
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and a player who's played in MLS as well, now plays in the USL, and here he is on a stage this big. For my moment so far of the tournament, it really has been, we'll talk about the individual performance of the U.S. against Paraguay and the way that they dominated. But in the overall, Marcelo, as someone who played in the World Cup in 1994 and knows the power of playing in a home World Cup, the way that the U.S. men's national team has captured this nation, has gotten this nation behind them. I saw this great tweet at like 2:30 in the morning on the day after the game happened. And there was this guy who said, my kid only has ever played baseball in his backyard. And he wants to be like big baseball players. Well, today, this afternoon after the U.S. game, he came home and was like, I want to go in the backyard and be like Flair and Balogun. And that is what this World Cup is all about. It's about making people who might not otherwise watch this sport into soccer fans. And the way that this country, it's not just one game. They've not just gotten out of the group. They've not done it in the way that previous U.S. teams have grinded their way out. They've been dominant. They dominated Paraguay. They dominated Australia. And I think for a host country, and to be fair, all three of the host countries have done well so far. But for the host country to really get after it, to really capture the attention of the nation, it's great for a tournament, and it's great for the future of the sport of this country.
Yeah, you know, I think when you look at this team, there were doubts at the beginning. Let's be honest. Over the last month, there's been a lot of doubt. Can they get it done? Can they come together as a team? Is Pochettino getting the right tactics? Is he putting the right players on the field? And it's amazing when you finally believe in what you're doing. And I think they believe. They walk out of the field and they realize they had 90,000 people backing them. The energy, the support, everything about this team. And when you look at the quality of players, we've got guys that are good in the air. We've got guys that are good on the ground. But we've got good, let me take that back. We have very good players that are playing all over the world that when it comes together, you don't have to have a superstar. You just got to have a team that believes in each other. And I think you saw it after the first goal when they all went down into a corner and celebrated. You saw it after the second goal when they celebrated. Everything is a team now. After the game's over, big huddle, the big prayer. So
big singing of country roads.
Yeah, the country roads. And then the best part is, you know, we finally are at a point where I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. So, you know, the power of belief can go a long way in a World Cup, and especially when you're talented as where they are.
Listen, he said it as best as it can be said. I love it. Team dynamic. They are playing well. I love the fact that they've rose to the occasion and the fact that they're embracing the pressure and the support of the fans, because the nation is behind them. They're influencing. They have no idea, because these players in the moment, they're in a training camp, they're focused. But they have no idea how many youngsters they are influencing, watching them to want to be professional football players. Like the tweet you spoke about, in my community, one of the fathers I speak to, I went to his house the other day, he said his kids play baseball the whole time. He goes, now all of a sudden he wants to start playing soccer, because they're seeing it, they're watching it. So they're influencing the next generation in ways that they have no idea and won't realise till after the World Cup.
Get more from your holiday with TUI. Get more splash with free on-site water parks and kids pools, and get more bliss with swim-up rooms and foodie-approved dining. You book it, TUI sort it. Click to explore more.
You both have played the game, and I'm sure I've been in this situation where you've conceded a goal or two before half-time, having started well. What is we've talked about the perspective from the manager, but what is the perspective from the players to be able to regroup, Kai, and then focus on the second half and try to get something from the game and not be too disheartened?
I think that's where the leaders of the team steps in, right there, the leadership. A player like Moreira that we know from MLS, you know, he's been a big
what does he stand for? And secondly, is this right to have a coronation of a man who has barely been an MP?
Degrees Celsius later this week. It is 8 minutes past 11. 50, of course, by to good recovering. Start with, I mean, the Guardian, for example, 3 weeks, but it's time to Chester. You know, on
the front page of the Observer, it says Starmer bows out. Andy Burnham, who boards the train in a black
at 1 a.m. Then
of 2.3. The crowd reacting at Wimbledon when it first starts to rain.
If nothing else.
Lord Ali got on at Milton Keynes with a suspicious suitcase full of clothes. No, I shouldn't say that.
I'm
leader on this team. I know we talk about Vizinger a lot, but then going into the locker room, knowing what the coach is telling these guys, what sometimes we're just fatigued, you know, mentally and physically and not there. But the information that a coach is going to get to you could really get you back up. So for me, them going back into the locker room, I was worried. Like I said to you, I was really worried to seeing how they were going to react to somebody like, you know, Uruguay. Look at their bench, bringing on Nunes and something like that is going to happen. But the fact that the right information was given to them, we saw them defending the same way as they were doing in the first half, getting 11 guys behind the ball. It didn't matter if it was 25 yards from goal, they were defending together as a team. Then when they had the ball, they were ready to break and had a few chances that they, you know, just a little bit of detail would have helped them to really put this game away, and it would have been a different story.
And Michael, this is where Babista had to almost be, I'm sure, a psychologist in the dressing room at half-time as much as a coach, getting the players to not focus on the past, what's just happened in the last 5 or so minutes of the first half, to focus on the present and the future, that there is a way back into this game.
Yeah, I think some of the best managers in the world or coaches in the world aren't afraid to make changes as well. And the subs changed this game for Cabo Verde. One of the players that almost stole the show and almost stole the match was Varela, where he takes it and just started bossing the game. And you just saw this renewed energy and this sense of belief within this team. There's a symbol that I go back to Africa, and I'm going to give this man to my right a lot of flowers here, because you talk about leaders. And so for us at Sierra Leone, Kai was the leader, not a leader, the leader. And when things get tough, especially in that locker room, you need your leaders to be an extension of the coaching staff, to be an extension of the voice of the manager. And one player that I saw was an absolute warrior today that you probably won't notice in stats, but if you truly watch this game, Pico Lopez is a leader. He is the leader of this team. Some of the blocks that he had, some of the 50-50s, his lack of backing down, his warrior mentality, it's infectious. And some of those 50-50 duels, some of those extra efforts, those are as good as goals, in my opinion, when you're playing against the big dogs of world football. I saw him make some tackles in the first half that led to counterattack opportunities, and we saw it out of the gate. Him getting stuck in. Borges as well, Denny Borges. He started feeding off of it. And for me, when you're an attacker, Kai, you know your job is now set. You have to earn the hard yards when you're one of the smaller teams to get the big reward, and they definitely did that today.
No, it's so good. It's so good you mentioned Lopez on that one. To me, again, seeing it from the outside, he's not the guy that's on screen the whole time where people are recognizing what he's doing. But this man tucks in his shirt. He's ready to go. He leads by example. Yeah. He gets the tackles in, but at the same time, you're seeing him vocal. And that's what we're missing a lot in the game, for many teams, the vocal leadership from players. Some players get it done, and you just see them. You see how hard they work, like a Conte for France. He just works hard, but he's not saying much. But Lopez is leading by example, and he's vocally also pushing the rest of the guys around him.
Shout out to all the Cape Verde fans who are watching us on YouTube. We've had loads of comments coming in. Let's read out a couple for you. This one from Mr. Nice Guy. Cabo won their group in qualifying over Cameroon. They're not in because of the expansion. That's the interesting thing, is they performed brilliant. This is an extension of what they did in qualifying. And I think we've got some more coming in for you. Let's get to another one now. This from Desrac. Vozinha was right. Everyone will know the name Cape Verde. And it has been a wonderful performance from them. And you could look at the group, and we showed the group so far earlier on. They've got through the hardest games so far, haven't they? They've got past Spain and Uruguay. They've got Saudi Arabia to come. How far, Michael, do you think they could potentially get in this tournament? Are they now setting their sights past the group stages?
Well, look, I'm going to put this out there, and this is not a hot take. This is not living in la-la land. They're going to finish second in this group. They're going to finish ahead of Uruguay because they've done the hard work. Now is the part, as a player, now is the part where if you're Vozinha, you get to reward your mom, who a lot of work has been made by diplomats. And I was reading behind the scenes that there was a Chinese businessman who actually helped pay the visa fee and was part of that process, as well as other diplomats. But this is where, for me, if I'm a Cabo Verde player, I think of my family. And on the international level, that's what differentiates playing at the international level versus playing for your club. When you're playing for your club, you're playing for your paycheck, you're playing for pride, you're playing for your career. But these Cabo Verde players, they're playing for legacy in real time. They're playing for their families. They're playing for their loved ones. They're playing for the previous generation in 2013 that helped set the stage. They're playing for Africa.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to be highly motivated. And Adam, I'm not saying they're going to do a Morocco because they still need that extra bit of quality. But this team can dare to dream. And if I'm a Cabo Verde fan, the city of Boston is going to be popping tonight. I wish I could. I might actually get in my car and drive to Boston tonight to celebrate with the Cabo Verde fans. The city of Providence, I think about the fans there. And I also think about the fans in Cabo Verde that couldn't even be here to watch their team. This is a historical moment, and it's something that no football fan will forget what they're doing. So dare to dream, man.
Kai, it's just a wonderful story, isn't it? It's the story that keeps on giving. Some people may have said, well, it was a flash in the pan what happened against Spain, but they followed it up with another great result here and a game that they were losing in. They came back from behind to draw 2-2. What does this mean for football? I'm going to ask you a very big picture question to start with.
Does that mean we have a new hero from Cabo Verde? Is Vozinha out now?
We've got to find
Is Valera? Is Valera?
I think Varela's the guy.
Is he the guy now? Is it the statue that they have to build in that country? Because it's a big celebration. This is a really big celebration to draw two of the biggest nations. But let's talk about this one.
Well, 2 World Cup winners as well. We mustn't forget that. Spain and Uruguay are 2 previous World Cup winners. This isn't just, fighting for a draw against a team who's maybe made the World Cup a few times before. These are 2 previous champions.
Yeah. So it's a lot of credit. I mean,
you don't know what an AI work management platform is? Yikes. Here's 3 new AI-powered.
I played in Africa. I played against Cape Verde. Yes, this many years ago. But to see the celebration, I was a bit worried after the first half, after them giving up that goal, them coming into the second half. I'm worried about how the game is going to finish. As players, around 65 to 75 minutes, fatigue comes in. Those are the times I was really worried that Uruguay is going to step up the game to something different. You see a player like Núñez coming into the field, and I'm thinking something is going to happen. But Cape Verde really
kept their composure, they had many more chances to even be able to do more than just tie in this game. But I don't think now they believe. They really believe in themselves. They're not looking at this now to say, okay, we're just making an appearance at the World Cup. They're saying, listen, we're going toe-to-toe with two of the biggest nations in the world. So we're ready for this one.
And Michael, those 2 goals that were conceded just before halftime must have felt like a sucker punch after all the good work they'd done in the first 20, 25 minutes, scoring the goal, leading the game, being confident in it. To then go out in the second half and tactically be able to come back and score the equalising goal. So much credit needs to go to, you know, both the manager and the players to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in this. With good coaching, you can do anything in football. I don't care if you're Cabo Verde. I don't care if you're Sierra Leone. I don't care if you're Uzbekistan. I don't care if you're Jordan. I don't care if you're any team around the world. If you have a good coach, a good manager, you can do the impossible. And I was listening to the pre-match presser, and Bubista, we need to call him by name, give him his credit. And you saw before the game, Adam, you saw after the Spain game, Luis de la Fuente went over, shook his hand and said, hey, well done. Loco Bielsa, before the match, went, looked him in the eye. We rarely see Loco Bielsa look people in the eye. Looked him in the eye, and shook his hand and smiled. But he's earning the respect of every single person on planet Earth. This Cabo Verde side is earning the respect of every single person and team and fan at the World Cup. This is the stuff of dreams. We talk about Hollywood endings and Hollywood scripts, but this is a Cinderella story that's happening right before our eyes. And for Bubista, what he's done with Cabo Verde, taking them, and we've seen them make waves at the Africa Cup of Nations, this is another level. And for me, there's something happening on the African continent. We saw Morocco in 2022 do the impossible, get to a World Cup semifinal. But if we take a step by and we really examine African football, this is the tournament, for me, in my opinion, where African football is finally getting the respect it deserves. We fought a long time with Sierra Leone to get that sort of respect in our country, and it's good to see other small nations like Cabo Verde getting the respect they deserve by doing it the right way. A Herculean task against Spain, the emotions that it has to take, the leaders you have to will yourself forward in a second match against Uruguay. This team's for real, Adam. They're not a fluke.
Yeah, really well said. Let's get the Uruguay perspective on things. We can speak to former Uruguay player and former Premier League manager as well. Gus Poyet rejoins us. Gus, great to see you. How do you break down that second half? From a Uruguay perspective, you must be fairly disappointed with the way that your side let Cape Verde back into the game.
Yeah, really disappointing. For us, it's a disaster. We said it before the game. It was a must-win game for Uruguay. Yes, it was pressure, but these players, they play in biggest teams, so they don't have a problem. I have to say that my great congratulations to Bubista and Cabo Verde. I think they showed that you can still play football when you believe in something, that if you have pain, like before the halftime, and players, they don't want to come out. The right back, he played the last 12 minutes with cramp. He couldn't move. He kept jumping, throwing himself. So when you really get that momentum, you can do anything. Last week, they were only defending against Spain. Today, no, they had the moments. They had moments that they were attacking and trying to break and took some risk, some moments that they had to defend it. So they alternated that, and then they finished the game going for the third. I mean, there were 2 or 3 breaks at the end that they were very dangerous. So chapeau to them. For us, it started a problem. It started a big problem because it's Spain next. It's going to be a nightmare the next 5 days in Uruguay around the team. When we took advantage of 2 simple crosses, 2 nice goals, but 2 crosses, and you expect the team to go into the second half with a different attitude. We went back to the passing, to the controlling. I call him a fake control. When you are controlling, but you are not really. Then we had 10 very good minutes, I think from the 70-something, when Nunez went in with De La Cruz, and it looked like we were going to score the third goal. But not scoring and not winning the game is an absolutely disaster for us.
Gus, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, and it's not the players, it's the coach in Loco Bielsa, a manager who has earned the respect of a lot of his predecessors and a lot of his understudies who reference him as such a reference point. But with this Uruguay side, it's been a disaster. It has to be said. The start of this World Cup has been a complete disaster. How much pressure is on him going into this Spain match? Because their backs are up against the wall.
Well, I have to say that you are completely right. We had a big problem last year after the Copa America. It was a big mess around November, December in Uruguay when everything was calming down and the country was divided, the pro and the against Bielsa, the pro and against the players, because that what creates these kind of problems. And when we were getting there in terms of togetherness, Bielsa didn't pick up Nandes, which he played every single game of the qualification, and it became the negativity again. And then, as you say, we started the World Cup terrible, playing with a different system that we never played last week, 4-4-2. Then we recovered well, and now the opposite, no? So it's gonna be a really tough day, for the coaches, like you said before. When things go well, credit to Bubista. When things go bad, you are on your own, and it's going to be a difficult night for Marcelo Bielsa today.
Gus, were you surprised that Darwin Núñez didn't start? We saw him come into the game, and he had a bit of an impact, but this is a guy who probably should be starting for Uruguay, isn't it?
Nutella ice cream makes us a spoonful happier.
I tell you, I was not surprised about not starting for one reason only. He didn't play the last 6 months in Saudi Arabia, and it was picked by Marcelo Bielsa to play the 2 friendlies in March. And everybody was thinking, okay, he's going to give him minutes, like an hour, 70 minutes. Go and play because you didn't play for 3 months. And he practically didn't play against England. I think he played 1 minute or 2, and then he played very little the next one. So then people were saying, okay, if we need to use Darwin Núñez, we need a couple of friendlies before the World Cup. I don't know if you know, but we were, I think, the only country in the world that we didn't play any friendlies before the World Cup. So that didn't allow Darwin Núñez to be in a good condition. And because he played not his best the first 45 minutes of the day, and when Marcelo Bielsa took him off, the team improved dramatically. I think it was common sense that it was not starting today. I like his attitude today. I like his touches. He made a great touch for Canovio, 1 touch. He let him 1v1 with the goalkeeper. So if we can recover him now for the next few days, for Spain first, it's going to be massive for us because we need that presence and that quality in front of goal.
Just really quickly, Gus, before we let you go, I want you to put your coach's hat on because you've managed at the highest level in the Premier League and around the world. What is it that Cape Verde have done in the 2 games so far that's making these teams so difficult to beat? What are the big nations struggling with? And if you were preparing a team to face them, what would you be focusing on?
Well, to be honest, they were outstanding in terms of the decisions, the plan. Against Spain, it was a clear plan of defending as much as possible with a lower block, not allowing Spain to go in behind. And they did a fantastic job holding on and, with a great performance of the goalkeeper. Today, no. Today they play. Today they had the moments. They knew that in certain moments Uruguay would control, but they were able to go and play and enjoy themselves. There were a few players that they done a few tricks, and it was nice to watch them enjoying the World Cup as well. Uruguay, I said it at halftime, too predictable until the last few minutes of the first half, too slow, without really getting in behind the position back 4. You need to make those runs. You need to make them go back. You need to put people on the box. You need to have, surrounding the striker, because we play with 1 striker only. There is many things that you need to work. But I'm sure that Marcelo did work. I suppose that he did work on those movements. But the game in Uruguay needs to be crazy. We are a crazy country, and we need to play crazy.
Egypt managed to get the job done then, didn't they, Kai, in the second half? It was going all so nicely for my New Zealanders in the first half, but Egypt came roaring back. What change did you see in the first 45 minutes to the second period?
I almost got up to celebrate, but I'm like, I shouldn't do that.
There'll be time for that later.
I shouldn't do that because Darren Beasley was my former manager, my former coach at Colorado Rapids.
He'll be straight on the phone.
Yes. So he's going to be upset that I didn't pick his squad to win, by 3-1. But what I saw from Egypt
in the second half, and what I expected, you can see it, you can believe it from their possessions and their movement going forward, that they wanted the game more than New Zealand. New Zealand did really well staying behind the ball, but the farther they got, or the closer they got to their goal defending, gave Egypt that extra belief that, you know, we can get this. And you can see after the first goal happened, Egypt, everybody's getting the players back into the center, say, let's go, let's go, let's go. We have another goal to get into this game. And that's the belief that you can see. I mean, everybody wants to see it. All the Egyptians wants to see it. Everybody around the continent of Africa wants to see Mo Salah get that goal. And it's a relief. It's a relief to him, a relief to the team, and to put the team in the position that they're in right now. It was a really good second half for them to go into that.
We'll talk about Salah a little bit more later, Michael, but this was Egypt, for me, announcing themselves at this World Cup. It took a bit of a while for them to get going, but they're here now.
Yeah, it's a historic moment. It's a milestone moment. It's their first ever win at a World Cup. And you think of what that means for a team that were the kings of the continent. The Egyptian national team have owned the African Cup of Nations. They have for a long time. Maybe you could say that Senegal is that team now, but back when we were playing, Egypt was the big team that had this vice grip on African football. Now you get a different reference point when you get to the World Cup. And so for Mohamed Salah in Egypt to be pining after getting those magic words, Egypt 3 points, and now even bigger words, Egypt top of the group, are you kidding me? And Kai, I want to go back to something you said about it being a tale of two halves. In the first half, it was very static. I thought you had Mohamed Salah, who was a ghost. I thought he looked predictable. Omar Marmoush looked predictable, and they were just standing next to each other, pretty much high-fiving and trying to find space. In the second half, though, you saw a bit of tactical acumen and good coaching from Hossein Hassan. I think he deserves a lot of credit for this. The players went out and executed his plan, and two players I thought rose to the occasion. Mohamed Salah will get the praise, but when you look at Imam Ashur and Mustafa Ziko, they really started combining and connecting and having this free role. I think an Egyptian side that looks more dynamic takes the pressure off Mohamed Salah and Marmoush to come up with the goods all the time. You saw a player like Zico step up, and a player who he only made his debut back in May, Adam. May. That's 3 goals now he scored in his last 4 matches. It's insane.
What does it mean, Kai, for such a proud footballing nation in Africa as Egypt to actually record their first World Cup win? What does this take the handbrake off? How do you think that will impact fans of football in the country?
I think it's really good. Like Michael just mentioned, they got this 3 points that sets them apart from everybody else in that group. You know, now they're 4 points there. But for them and for Mo Salah, again, with his legacy and everything, Egyptians were always top of Africa. I know now we're talking about the Senegals, and for example, we might add Morocco into that. They're going to say, hey, you can't take us out of that equation. But for Egypt to be at this point right now, maybe the last tournament for Mo Salah, and getting this win, I think it's really good for the nation, and it's really good for just the continent, period.
I'm going to ask you both this question. Where do you think Mo Salah ranks in terms of all-time African players? And I'm including all positions here, so this isn't just a striker, so we're making it pretty broad. I'll start with you, Michael.
Yeah, because I won't get it.
Yeah, you're shaking your head. So
Look,
I'll give you a second to think about it.
I'm a big Mohamed Salah fan. I'll start at the club level because that has a big impact on how we view African players. I think African players are starting to get more respect with what they do at the national team level. But at the club level, for me, he's Liverpool's greatest ever player. I think what he's done to take Liverpool to go from the team that had the miracle of Istanbul, he's made them perennial, just Premier League giants. They are the biggest club in England right now, in my opinion, still. What they've done to get the Premier League trophy, the Champions League trophies, he has put Liverpool back on a global map, not just an English map. But for African football, I think at the international level, Mohamed Salah, I think people are still wanting to see him get over the line. When you look at the difference between him and Sadio Mane, he's lost to Mane in finals. And so how you can push yourself, and for Salah, I put him top 5. I don't put him top 3. If you can get Egypt into the knockout round and Egypt makes some sort of Cinderella run, then we're having a different conversation for me, because that's what the greats truly do. Mohamed Salah, at his age, I think he's maybe 34 now, he could have a swan song the likes of Roger Milla in 1990. That's how significant this World Cup is for him. It's his last international tournament, and I don't care what's happened at Liverpool, but the inspiration that he's been to the Egyptian national team, so many of these players look up to him. He's a role model. He's an icon. And we saw it just when Egypt needed that moment of inspiration. I mentioned Zico, I mentioned Ashore, but it's Mohamed Salah that has the big nose for the big moment, and he smells blood in the water. He's a killer in the box, and I'm just so happy for him.
I think Michael has said enough to put Mohamed Salah top 5 around Africa. Man, a lot of credit to all the other heroes and legends and role models that we grew up, watching in Africa and watching them, make it to the biggest stage. And when you're talking about, the George Weah, you're talking about the Wanko Kanus and all these guys. I mean, it's amazing. But Mohamed Salah, Drogba as well, which it's
the king.
It's different, But Mohamed Salah, for me, I think it helps a lot that he's coming from Egypt also. Because, Egypt has had their history in football. They've had their history around, and they've dominated Africa and the AFCON and all these things. But Mohamed Salah taking the country into the World Cup and going back into this World Cup, and all of us want him to break that record for his nation. That's one thing. Top 5, yes, I see him in the top 5. I would love to see his involvement more around the continent of Africa and not just inside of Egypt. So more people can feel that impact, from Mo, so that your legacy doesn't just stay in Egypt or stays in Liverpool, but travel around Africa so you can share that around, because people really do worship him all over.
Absolutely, and with that goal, he is slowly climbing up the all-time scorers list in terms of Egyptians in world football. And look at the man he's just won behind. Yeah. His coach for Egypt, Hossam Hassan. Maybe that's why I took him off at the end. Didn't want him scoring another goal. Mo Salah moves to 68. He's quite a long way above the third-placed Hassan El Shazli back there on 49 goals. You would think that Salah's going to overtake him, might do it at this World Cup. Now, football is a game, as we know, guys, where sometimes you got to eat humble pie, haven't you? Sometimes you make a call and you get it wrong. And I'll happily admit that earlier I got it wrong. Let's have a look what we said. Out my Kiwis at your peril. What did I tell you before the game? Not exactly vintage World Cup football necessarily from these two, Kai, but so fair. I think New Zealand worthy winners.
If you're talking about New Zealand, hold on.
Don't let them get. We're watching the same game.
If you're talking about New Zealand jumping over someone, I just saw Sermon jumped over everyone. What a beautiful header. I'm not picking their side still. I'm still sticking with Egypt because I did predict 3-1. So New Zealand's got that one goal in.
And I'm not great at maths, but I'm pretty sure it ended in 3-1. The king.
Is that my crown?
And that's why.
Can I crown myself right now?
And Kai Cameron, that's why they don't let me sit here on my own. They hire experts and don't let the idiots make predictions.
Adam, I'll tell you, it wasn't the same thing yesterday. So I learned from, you learn from before. And that's the thing about having veterans, I don't want to say older players in the locker room, right? We can't call people old anymore.
Ages.
Having, veterans inside the locker room. So in this locker room, I'll be that veteran.
I'll try again tomorrow. You're back tomorrow, so I'm going to try again.
breaking the record of most goals in a World Cup, isn't he? Do you think he'll be thinking about that going into these games?
How could you not?
Yes.
Marcelo, you shook your head.
You don't think he circled it?
He said it the other day. I know
Internally.
Klose is there. I know this, but dude, he's all about the team. He's all about the team. Listen, he's
he's thinking about that.
He knows Mbappe's going to pass him, so it's like, come on.
No,
it's right there.
Cello, deep down, of course he's never going to say to the public, hey, I want to, that's driving him. He wants to be,
I think the drive
success.
for a World Cup, a second World Cup, is more than that goal.
I agree.
100%.
I agree, but
you
it's
have
on
to
his
think
mind.
He will be thinking about it.
I'm sure his teammates are talking about it.
You don't think his teammates are feeding him?
I'm sure. Listen, they're going to feed him every opportunity they can, just like they did in the first game, like they'll do in the final if they get there. They will always feed him. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's going to be an honor for him. I think, he thinks about it, but I don't think it's like, okay, we need to win this game, and then maybe I don't have to play the third game. But I don't think it's that drive, like, I need this. This is what I want. He got what he wanted. He got what he wanted 4 years ago with that trophy. You saw how it meant to him. When he walked up to it, he rubbed it, he kissed it. You could see the emotion in his eyes. That's what that country needed. That's what it wanted.
So what do you think motivates him now then? He's won the World Cup.
That second trophy.
The second trophy.
Yeah, and making sure Ronaldo doesn't win it.
And I wonder if they're going to Americanize it. I know you don't watch the NBA, but like when LeBron James breaks a record, all of a sudden everybody stops. They bring like an announcer down, like the lights go real low in the middle of it. I don't know,
After the game,
we in the middle of the US.
Maybe a water break.
Hey, listen, I don't be surprised if some announcement comes up on one of them big screens in one of them stadiums, like, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, we just wanted to let everybody know that Leo Messi has just broken this. You don't think that's gonna happen? You don't think?
I like your American.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to let you know.
He would say, I just want to let you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was important to inform you that right now Leo Messi has just. I can see it happening.
That is funny.
That is a Dallas Cowboys type of thing.
I'm telling you, Jerry Jones country. I'm telling you, it could happen. How about them Cowboys?
If they do that, I may have to turn off the TV. I may have to do that. I may have to turn off the TV. They Americanize this.
Do you know what? If he breaks the record, I think Nico would be the one announcing it.
That's true.
Golden Ball, player of the tournament. Is it too early to say Messi's in the running for that?
No, he's in the running, but it's too early to really have an idea of who the top 5 to 3 will be. I mean, you already have positive starts from Harry Kane, Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappe, obviously Lionel Messi. There's just a number of players who have already obviously want that trophy, want that title to go down with their name in this tournament. But again, you're trying to measure team success versus individual success, and team success is what puts you over the top. And Messi is central to Argentina's success in this tournament, and they're the defending champions. They feel that they can win this tournament. So if Argentina do win the World Cup and repeat, he will be the Golden Ball winner, which will be incredible given that you're starting to see a lot of current MLS teams, players who are in this tournament having success. And you're telling me a player who's playing in MLS through and through can win the Golden Ball, what an accomplishment, not only for Lionel Messi, but for CONCACAF and for Major League Soccer.
He's not a bad player too. Like if he sticks at this, he could have a half decent career as well. You know what I mean? He's okay.
Yeah, he's all right.
He's all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please stand and clap your hands for the new World Cup record holding
Lionel Messi.
Lionel Messi.
That's quite good.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Marcelo, do you think this team is good enough to go back-to-back without Messi?
Ooh. Without Messi? No. Listen, they've got a good team. But in order to win a World Cup, you've got to have a difference maker. And I think Messi, you saw it. If Messi didn't score those 3 goals, who was going to score the other day for Argentina? So there's a few players that need to step up, and I think we'll talk about that later. But I don't think, listen, it's hard enough to repeat as it is. France got there twice, ask them. It's not easy. So can Argentina get to a final? Yes. To repeat, it's going to be difficult, but they can.
Okay, you mentioned the players that need to step up. We're going to be talking about that right now. So that brings us to our Nintendo Player Select presented by Nintendo Switch 2. Boys, who are the 3 players you think need to step up if Argentina are to defend their World Cup title? Charlie, I'll start off with you.
Yeah, just throw my guy up there, Enzo Fernandez, the 25-year-old central midfielder who currently plays for Chelsea, but it's been rumored to be all over Real Madrid. Apparently, he's keen on moving to Madrid at some point in his life, but he had 9 passes into the final third. Out of midfield, he was 63 for 67 with his passes. I mean, he is central to how Argentina play as one of the cornerstones in the midfield, responsible for opening up the game and seeing that pass to break lines. Enzo Fernandez, he shows out when he plays for Argentina. He definitely shows that he's, if not world class, right at that doorstep of world class. And this tournament, I think, can push him over.
Okay, so you've got Enzo Fernandez. You want to make a?
Yeah, I like his evolution of his game because we think about where Enzo was, especially for the latter half of Benfica. He was definitively like seen as a defensive midfielder of 4 or 6, sitting that pivot and just kind of recycle possession. I've seen an expression in him this year in a Chelsea shirt of wanting to impact the game into the final third, and now I'm seeing that replicated in an Argentina shirt. So I'm liking the fact that he's adding strings to his bow, and he wants to impact the game in as many facets as possible. And he really is. I think he's starting to become what I would say a complete midfielder, which is really shocking in modern football to talk about complete midfielders, because we were talking about players having definitive roles, and he's almost ripping that up and saying I can be absolutely everything for everything in terms of my team. So I like his game. I really do love it.
But he doesn't have to be everything.
No, he doesn't.
You got McAllister, you got DePaul, you've got such a good
balance,
understanding of each other like they did in the last World Cup. If he does his role and does it well, along with McAllister and DePaul, that midfield's very difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult to penetrate. And all 3 are very good at going forward.
Yeah.
So.
Marcelo, what player have you got?
Oh, Julian Alvarez. Listen, if Argentina is going to go far, you need a goal scorer. And if you look at the last World Cup, 7 games, 5 starts, 4 goals, 1 assist, 2 against Croatia, Australia, and Poland. So this is a guy, for me, that has to step up. You can't put the weight of Messi of having to score every game. So when I look at this young man having to take a big step this year, and has Messi's a little older, he's a little bit more mature, playing at Atletico Madrid. So for me, when we talk about national team, we talk about goal scorers, we talk about great movement, the way he moves on and off the ball, he chases back defensively. But in order to win a World Cup, you're going to need a second hand besides Messi. And for me, Julian is the guy that needs to step up.
Okay. JD, who you got?
I've actually gone the complete opposite, because I feel like for so much for Argentina, we focus on the forwards and we focus on what they do in the attacking third. So I've actually gone for Cuti Romero. And only because I actually like the pressure that's on his shoulders. Disappointing year with Spurs domestically. I think he'd be the first person to admit that. But leadership has never really been a question mark. My only question mark with him is discipline. Can you keep a cool head, and can you show leadership in a completely different facet? Because let's not get confused, Argentina are going to dominate a lot of the teams that they play against, but how they handle the transitions and how they handle their discipline in terms of their shape and their concentration is going to tell me how far this team can be. What I've loved about his game over the last 4 years, from the last World Cup to here, is that he has showcased that he can step up in the big moments. The bigger the game seems to be, the bigger that Cuti seems to grow into these situations. What I need now is an understanding, which he shows in an Argentina shirt and doesn't always show in a Spurs shirt, of a discipline and understanding and management of a game, in making sure the concentration in terms of our backline is solidified, because we know we've got the players in the final third, like a Julian, like a Messi, and so many others that can go and impact a game and win us a game. It's about whether or not we can be focused back here.
I was curious, Marcelo, from your perspective, the Julian Alvarez versus Lautaro Martinez debate. Where do you sit on that, and who do you think by the end has a bigger impact?
Oh, listen, I think Julian is the one. You need pace up front. I get Martinez is very big and he's very strong and he fights and he scratches. But when you look at starts and the XG and everything about it, this is a guy who can get in behind the back line. He can connect well. Go back to the Croatia goal when he got that ball. He ran 60 yards out of control, but Martinez just can't do that, and that's what Argentina needs. They need to be able to spread the game, because when you spread the game, you find your best player. Messi's always trying to find the gap underneath, but for me, Julian needs to start. He proved it last World Cup. He started 5 out of 7 games, and look where they went.
So the problem is can you keep them healthy?
But Chella, how important is form for this? Because what Lautaro done in terms of the back end of last season, obviously being crowned the champion as well, scoring so many goals, is the confidence, especially when you speak about someone playing a supporting role to Messi. Would you rather someone that has the confidence in terms of all the goals they scored domestically, or would you rather someone that you feel like is probably the better, more complete overall player?
I think every game will bring a different challenge. And I think you looked at the first game for Argentina. Martinez do much for you?
No.
Exactly. He didn't do enough. I get it. Listen, he's at Inter, he scores goals. I get it, club soccer. But when you put on that jersey, you play a role, be it this role, be it that role. His role is to defend and to score goals. He doesn't do that very often. He didn't do that in the last World Cup. Julian did.
Is he kind of like the Tevez?
Yeah, I see the similar.
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah,
I think he's that guy that out of the blue will score you a goal, will get in the air and knock a ball in. But if I'm a center back right now, I'd be more worried about Alvarez than I would be about Martinez, only because of his pace.
Well, then
that pace scares me.
I'm going to upset you again because I've just been told that Julian Alvarez is not starting once again.
I know. But we talked about key players that need to step up. He needs to step up.
So he needs a big moment for you. And you know when you were talking about replications from the previous time, you know who Julian reminds me of, the role he needs to play? You remember Kun Agüero? The positions that he found in terms of to support Messi, found the odd goal that was super important. If you're going to have your Lautaros, that's going to be your Carlos Tevez, then he has to be Kun Agüero. And Kun Agüero scored some big goals.
Think about him and Higuain. Like, you know, like, they're all, Argentina has this incredible ability of developing these strikers, but some don't fit for whatever reason into the puzzle in the right way to get the most out of the team.
Crespo, I mean, you can go down the list. And then Canija, I mean, you can go...
Batistuta.
Batistuta, Canija can't play together. Why not? Why can't they play together? Play them and see what happens. You know what I mean? But it's like I said, can you play with two forwards? No. Because the other one has to be Messi. Because listen, in modern football now, teams run. So there's only one guy that maybe you can let just a little bit loose and say you don't have to defend as much, and that's Messi. Everybody else has to defend.
Yeah, well, that's Argentina versus Austria quickly. If Messi scores, what are they going to say in the stadium?
Everybody, stand up and give a big round of applause for Lionel Messi.
Everybody.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding league
Argentina do it? Messi, the inevitable? What do we make of this game?
I watched the game from start to finish. I see a team in Argentina that wants to compete. All the things we said about before. And then what I think the thing that they do is huge is manage moments in the game. And I think you need to in a tournament with this many games, but also in a tournament against bigger clubs from different countries that have different playing styles. If I were to ask you, and we watch football every single day in the studio, if I were to ask you what's Argentina's playing style, it'd be hard for you to find me an answer. What's their formation? It'd be hard for you to give me an answer. Where does Messi play? It'd be hard for you to give me an answer. Because at some point when they were winning 1-0, they were a little bit lower. Other parts of the game, they were a little bit higher. They pressed higher up the field. Other parts of the game, they slowed things down. Other parts, they went fast. There's so many experienced, smart guys on the pitch that just want to win, that understand this is my role today. This is what I have to do today. There's a play where Rodrigo de Paul goes down the sideline. It's a good bit of play. He goes down the sideline. He looks up. He finds only one number in the box. Cruyff turns it, boom. They go back around the back, and they slow things down again. How many other guys just go, hopefully, let's rip it in there. Let's whip it in that area. Let's get it across the box. They just all on the same page. So for me, they're a scary team. They're scary. And then Messi obviously gets his brace. Probably could have been more because obviously he misses the penalty as well. So you're talking about he starts 2 games. He could have had 6 goals in 2 games. So,
just to add to Grela's point, amazing. For me, we just watch football in its purest form. That for me is how I'll describe it. That is football in its purest form. When you talk about intelligence, the play, the different aspects of the game, how it is, because I say that because you compare it to the modern game. We sit and watch so many games. We watch these teams. Everyone wants to play out the back. Then they get to the final third. Wingers not taking defenders on. Always coming inside now. All these overcrowding and underlaps and stuff. Argentina there just played football in the old school way that I used to watch. No fear, physical, sharp, great passing, great intelligence. And like Grela said, you don't have one specific style of play. You can't say that they stick to this principle or this blueprint of this is what they do, this is their patterns of play. No, go and play. Go and play football like you used to play in the streets or in the park and how you use it. You can see that the freedom that they have, the love for the game that they have as individually, collectively as a team, they're phenomenal. And again, we talk about how they play and everything. I've got to give credit to Lionel Scaloni. Scaloni, the manager, for me, is a vital part of that, because that is a manager's responsibility, because you're dealing with so many egos, so many players, play for very competitive teams where they're competing against each other at club level, and then they come together and they realize this is for Argentina. This is bigger than whatever club you're playing for. This is what we're here together. Pack of wolves, and they really show that, and everything and all of that always stems from a manager. This is someone who's had an opportunity to manage and coach, so he knows what it's like and how difficult that is. But to get those players, and this is top-level players, to be focused and united like that, you have to have a strong manager in place for what he's done to implement that in the camp and in the team for everyone to buy into it. So it's also credit to the manager and what he's done.
Yeah, it's a full team collective. I think, going back to Grella's point there, to have a group of experienced players who understand, okay, what we need to do in this moment is this, or what we need to do in that moment is that. Well, that's great management, and that's just experience. You can't buy that. They from winning the last World Cup, all these players have gone on to have wonderful careers, moves, all of the fun stuff, but they've all learned, okay, we know how to win and deal with each moment of every part of the game. Again, tactically, as a coach, you'll try and break things down. Oh, the ball's in this side of the pitch, here's what you do. They go, don't worry, coach, we know what to do. We've got this covered. And the best part about it, for all of the fancy play, all of the great stuff that they did, when you see the second goal, and you see arguably the greatest player of all time, miss his shot, but then he's the first to react and scores a slide tackle. Think of all the goals he scored and the great ones we talk about, the ones in the top corner, the free kicks. He scores a slide tackle because he wants it more than everybody else. So when one of the greatest players you've ever seen of all time is slide tackling and willing to do that, the rest of your group goes, no problem. I'll do as I'm told. I could be a team member because that's what he does. And
the leadership aspect of it.
And I just think everybody else, like any young kid watching, any young coaches that are watching and listening, don't just show kids about, oh, look at his technical ability. Look at his desire to want and win. Look at his enthusiasm to still be going, no worries, guys. Even after he scores his second, tries a little nutmegs, gets foul, wants his third. The appetite for more is what separates him from everybody else.
Especially being able to overcome missing the penalty in the first half. I mean, that was huge, but it feels like watching Argentina, there's never a doubt that they're not going to score.
He's a Thanos of football, isn't he? Like, he's inevitable. That's a comic book reference.
I know who Thanos is. I know who Thanos is.
It's more to us younger people. That's all I was trying to get.
I know who Thanos is, right? The Avengers, I know.
Yes, there we go, mate.
Okay.
But he is. And again, also that other part, like you think back to legends like Michael Jordan talking about the amount of shots he missed. He's the best, but he always misses those shots. And Wayne Gretzky missed all the shots I never took. If you want to be great, if you want to be in this position of scoring, you're going to miss more than you score. It's part of the game. It's how you handle it. And, Messi's not got the greatest penalty record, which is fine because he's unbelievable. But, of the 7 taken in World Cup finals, as you can see there, scored 4, missed 3. 2 of them have been saved, so you could probably argue that he hasn't really missed. But this one, missing the target, it's a hard one for any player to take, because give him that another 100 times, 99 times, he either scores or he hits the target at least. And I just think that maybe is one Achilles heel, that penalties are not his thing, but he's amazing.
Probably like 5 of those penalties too were in Saudi Arabia, so not even penalties, but that's also part of the stat.
It's crazy to say it though, but even though when he missed the penalty, you get a little bit of the reaction, but you just think to yourself, he really and truly doesn't bother him. Like that's what these top players are like. You miss early in the game, it's probably like, okay, we're still going to win the game. You could just tell that he's got that belief and that confidence, and that's what all these top players do. The top players that I've been fortunate to play with and stuff like that, they've just got this extra belief in themselves. Even in so-called high-pressure moments, they just never doubt themselves. And for most people sitting there thinking, oh my God, you just missed a penalty in a World Cup game, we need to win, and there'll be pressure on, oh, how do you feel, how you do react? Top players, they're not phased. Those type of things there do not phase them the slightest bit. Because there's always that belief and confidence to say, more game to play, we're going to get.
You know the best part about it? If there's another penalty today, tomorrow, next week,
we'll take it.
I'm taking it.
100%.
No, it's not over. I'm taking it. Don't worry about
There's no debate. He's taking it. That's about it. But it's credit again. I mean, like Grella said, you really have to take Argentina serious. You have to take them serious now with that performance. Even though at times they look vulnerable at the back, and give credit to Austria, because Austria did try to make a game of it. Austria did try to put them under pressure. Yeah. But Argentina stood strong. Defensively, there was that desire not to concede a goal. And I could not see Austria getting a goal in this game. With just the collectiveness of how Argentina played, you just couldn't see it. And that's something you can take as confidence moving forward in the tournament as well.
Was he 38 years old?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm 39. Can't move. If I get up off the couch, I have a pain in my heel. I can't. I have trouble until blood gets there. I can't get to the door. I think we're overlooking this guy. I think in 10, 15, 20 years' time, I think we'll talk about him and be like, remember when we used to get to watch him play week in and week out? Remember when we used to get to watch him compete in World Cups? What he's doing at 38 is crazy. And Troy, to speak to his point about the desire to do things, yes, that's there, but also he's quick. He gets to the ball first because he looks quick. At 38 years old.
Sharp, yeah, and then I was going to say, was it 12 of his 18 goals came after the age of 35?
After the age of 30, bro.
After the age of 30. After the age of 30.
They told you to start and you still
Stay away.
Stay away. After the age of 30.
Hey, know your bread and your butter, bro. Tackle and pass, bro.
Nigel, I love that you went for it.
Head it, kick it. Head it, kick it.
No, but talking about even the pressure that this man has. You know, you're talking about his age, the pressure that he carries for his country, but also before this, we're all saying, is he going to break the record? Is he going to tie Miroslav Klose's record? And he not only breaks it, he extends it. 18 goals now. The highest goal scorer in the Men's World Cup. He surpasses Marta on the women's side with 17. I mean, Grella, we were talking during the break before we started at where could he possibly finish with this World Cup? How many goals?
We don't wear the same kit. We don't tackle the same challenges. And we're not made up of 11. We're a team of teams. We were born in Carlisle, Southend, Lincoln, Sunderland, West London, but we were made in the Royal Navy.
Does he play in the next game? I don't know, because they've qualified, maybe not. Then you think 32, 16, 8, 4. So there's 5 more games left for him. I could see him scoring a goal a game, if not more. So if you put 4 or 5 more goals on there, you're at 23, 22.
They've got 4 in 2.
Well, yeah, okay. But they're going to get tougher.
They're going to face tougher opponents, maybe, than yes.
It's got 5 and 2.
Remarkable achievement. Unbelievable when you look at it again. And then this is 6 World Cups for him. The one person still on that list we just saw there who potentially could probably break it all again is Kylian Mbappe. I think he's
I was going to say
could definitely go up and
I was going to say he's actually inadvertently making Mbappe's legacy greater as well, because Mbappe now has that person to catch in live time.
Yeah,
you know, everybody else on the list is retired, so Mbappe got he scored 3. Mbappe gets 2 in the first round. In the second round.
And he's capable of it as well. That's the thing.
He scored 2. He must be going into the game, you know, later on today, going, oh, it's a wreck. Can I get 4? Can I get 5? And, you know, that's what ultimately is helping Kylian Mbappe's case. But listen, let's talk about it. This guy's just a freak.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's just a freak. 38 years of age. As I said, Grella's feeling the pain. I'm feeling the pain. Everyone here is feeling the pain.
I'm 31 and I'm feeling
for yourself.
Everyone
I never said anything about pain. It's fine. I'm good. I did my kettlebell.
We've seen you move, bro.
Seen me what?
We've seen you move.
I did my kettlebell exercise this morning. I'm fine. Okay. I was going to say what's great as well, Darren, about this generation and Messi is the fact of this is the digital generation. So you're going to be able to see Messi for such a long time. Compared to us, my generation, I know Troy's laughing right now. I was VHS. Technology has changed and moved on now. So now, no, you had to come to the ground to watch us play. That's the difference. The legends have gone before us.
No,
exactly.
Nigel got 5.
5 tackles, 4 lost balls.
Have we finished? Can we get some composure now?
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. It was all the previous generation and the greats that we saw. You had to go to the stadium. It was newspapers, like these guys said, and VHS. The thing with what Messi and Ronaldo and all these generations do, and even Troy as well, is it's digital now. It's going to live forever. The technology is going to be there. You're going to get to see it. So even people who didn't get to see Messi play are going to have the luxury of being able to watch it all from a digital standpoint, compared to previous generations that you had to go to the stadium to watch, and you can't get as much.
And I think that's why people don't understand just how great Klose's record was and Ronaldo, R9's records were, because they didn't get to see.
They didn't get to. Football hasn't exploded as it is now.
Now you could be anywhere in the world, watch it on your mobile device, and just be like, oh, okay, that's what happened. Yeah. Carry on with the rest of your day. So no, his greatness is right up there. I still see a few weaknesses in this team though, with the likes of Otamendi playing centre back. I know Grella was talking earlier. He sees them as so far, just based on what they've done, arguably that top bracket of France, Spain, and now Argentina. I still worry. The games come quicker and faster as you get later on in this competition. Can those older bodies be calm and rest and recover quick enough when you're coming up against the likes of maybe in England, but even in the US, dare I say, fast, young, fresh team that's like, we want it. I just wonder whether they can.
Do Argentina have the depth to do that?
They've got some good options in the bench. I can understand where Troy is coming from defensively. There are some vulnerabilities, but again, that's more of a specific nation that they're facing, and how you'd isolate certain individuals to say, as a manager or a coach, that's my weakness there. That's what I'll go for. Like Romero, good defender, but you can get under his skin. You can wind him up where he can lose his cool, get an early booking or get a red card. Those are the games within the game we can see, but that's all been individual managers who can see and identify where they want to play, who they want to play. And I think that backline could definitely be questioned as a bit of a weakness.
I'll ask you all a question. Do you think Argentina has a chance to win the World Cup, like an outside chance?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, let me ask you. Let me just couple that question with this. What about if Messi, God forbid, got injured?
No.
Tomorrow.
You think he's one of the
We're talking about depth, right? Your question was about depth.
Yeah.
They are deep in a sense that they've got enough guys at a decent level, but if they lose Messi, they're a totally different team to me.
They're a different team.
They're a good team.
They're a good team.
But for me, they go outside of the realm of going to win it.
Also,
Messi's a match winner.
No fear factor. He raises everyone.
Yeah, he does. He's a match winner for them. That's the biggest thing for him. He's a match winner. But I still would say, as the team aspect, I still think that they still would have a good chance. Because you still
to win the World Cup without Messi?
I still think so. I wouldn't go against it. I still think so. Because I like I said, I've said it before, I like the team dynamic of what they are.
Let me reframe the question to you then. So you're the coach of the opposition team, right?
Yeah.
Your team talk when Messi, the way you break it down for when you're dealing with Messi, or you're dealing with team without Messi, which is the more difficult to do?
Obviously, with Messi, it's the more difficult one to do, for sure.
So with that...
Still... We've seen some results that have surprised a lot of people in this World Cup. So we're talking about Argentina now with experienced players, top-class players. Yes, I know there's no Messi, but still you have to give that respect to say that they can still get there through the whole team dynamic. And
last superhero reference, when Superman puts his cape on. He puts his cape on and everyone gets a little piece of it, little touch and go, oh, I think I'm Superman. Everyone else's game raises that much
100%.
Because he's on the pitch. When he's not there, and all that spotlight's on you now to deliver, I'm not sure.
Who touches Superman when he puts his cape on?
He's a huge part of what they're doing.
He puts his cape on and he flies out.
He's in all the comics.
Who touches Superman?
Messi is not a piece of what they're doing. Messi is what they're doing. Yeah. He's the whole thing, the whole project.
I never dispute that.
But if you go to do a project and you're missing the biggest piece of it, you're going to be it's going to be a team there competing, but it's going to be a different team.
I'm just going on the eye test. I understand what you're saying, but like I said, I still feel with the team dynamic and other players that they've got there in Alvarez that they still have good enough quality to get there.
Soon anyway, aren't you?
What?
With long-lasting battery life on the Dell XPS, you can stay plugged in, even when you're unplugged.
Hello and welcome to the Athletic FC podcast with me, Emma Payton. Well, the World Cup drama just keeps on coming. We've passed the 100 goal mark with star players and teams taking centre stage. But just who is winning the World Cup so far? Well, here in the studio today, we have the Athletic's Mark Critchley and Keris Jones. How are we on this warm Monday morning?
Melting. Warm. And yeah, I'm wearing a jacket, which Keris immediately picked up on.
Chris walked in, I went, "You're mad."
Yeah, why? Is it just the smart look?
I think it's just the little chicken arms that I don't want to show off with the polo shirt. Yeah.
Being silly. Right, I said we've passed the 100 goal mark, 121 in total so far, another 12 on day 11. Is this tournament exceeding expectations for you so far, Critch?
I think so, although I think we've come to expect World Cups to start like this. I think it must be like 4 in a row now that I feel like we've had really fast starts, a lot of goals, a lot of people saying, is this the best World Cup ever at the beginning of the tournament? And sometimes it turns out that maybe not. I don't know if many people have been saying that about this tournament, but it feels like a World Cup. And I think it's been helped by the fact that, a lot of the big stars have performed. And we had that night last week with Haaland, Mbappe, Messi, etc. But also we've seen the minnows perform as well. And like, there's a lot of, there's people who think different things about a 48-team tournament. But I think it's here to stay. And I think this is the tournament we've got now. And what we needed was for those teams like Cape Verde, like Haiti, not so much Haiti maybe, but Curacao, Scotland even, credit to Scotland.
Yeah, and their fans, that's for sure.
We needed them to turn up and to make it feel like it wasn't a watered down product, and it hasn't felt like that so far.
You mentioned Cape Verde there. So after holding Spain to a goalless draw in their opener, well, they grabbed another point with a 2-2 draw against Uruguay yesterday. It's been, Keris, an absolutely captivating debut campaign for them. It just feels like at the moment they're the story of the tournament.
Yeah, I think what's really fun about it as well is that they've had these 2 draws, but they've been sort of very different performances. Like that first draw against Spain was so kind of disciplined and dogged and very much sort of defensive minded. There was that amazing statistic about them conceding 1 foul despite effectively defending for the entire 90 minutes, whereas the game against Uruguay, I thought was more kind of, they went for it a little bit more, because I think that was my concern with the expansion, was that we would see, it's fun to see the odd 0-0 draw where an underdog sits back. You don't want them to do that for the whole tournament. So to see them actually kind of come out and go at it, I thought they were a bit more lax defensively. I thought the goals that they conceded weren't great, and that could come back to bite them against a team that maybe punished them a little bit more. But it was nice to see kind of what they can do in attack as well, because we just didn't really see that against Spain at all. It was all about the goalkeeper. Yeah. Whereas last night, when he scored the free kick for the first goal, there was a moment where the players just sort of stood still and kind of looked up at the sky and then exploded. And that was a really great moment. I really enjoyed that.
Taken it back, weren't they? It's a brilliant underdog story, and they're clearly enjoying themselves, and why wouldn't you, to be honest? Well, as mentioned, Spain were held by Cape Verde in their opener, but last night they responded in style, beating Saudi Arabia 4-0. They were 3-0 up inside 25 minutes. Before we talk about Spain, well, Paul Baus was in Atlanta for The Athletic, and here's what he made of it.
So, Spain are finally here. The European champions showed their best version in the second game of the World Cup against Saudi Arabia. Compelling win, a 4-0 win, and a lot of talking points to assess. The first one, of course, and the biggest name of the day, surely Lamine Yamal, the teenage star who scored his first World Cup goal in his first start in the competition. Another name that needs to be mentioned here is Mikel Oyarzabal, nicknamed Mikel Oyarzalan by Spanish media, quite a funny nickname, because of his goal contribution. Basically, it's been outstanding. In the last 13 games for Spain, he has contributed in 21 goals, which is sort of mad. And yet, the boost, the good vibes, the happy feelings around the Spain camp are back. All the players, I think that there was a sense of them wanting to respond. And I think that the tactical tweaks that Luis de la Fuente made were really helpful as well, adding a lot of threat from wide areas, and basically putting Pedri as well in his preferred deeper position, which is something that has helped Spain get their mojo back. So yeah, happy days are back in Spain, and a huge game is awaiting in the last game of this group stage against Uruguay in Guadalajara.
England fans will be getting ready for today's big game.
Please don't take me home.
I just don't wanna go to
We want to stay right here.
Yeah, so just the one game left for Spain in the group, but things looking a lot rosier after yesterday. And Critch, after the likes of France, Argentina, England, all showing up in their group openers, how much did yesterday seem a statement from Spain? Have they put themselves, for you, back in that kind of bracket of being real contenders for this tournament?
I think in Spain they're saying tranquillo, hombres.
Calm.
Porque
yes.
preocupadas? What were you worried about? Look, they took a lot of criticism last week. I think we sort of criticised the performance against Cape Verde on this show, and maybe a little bit unfairly because what was it? It was like 27 shots on goal, 16 in the box. And sometimes the ball just doesn't go in, and that happens some days, and then some days you're 3-0 up before the hydration break, and that was yesterday. I think that this was the Spain that we were expecting to see, and I still consider them favourites for the tournament, and I think they showed exactly why. The only thing is, sometimes you worry about, is there a little bit too much of a focus on possession? And I think we've seen that. There was a stat going around after the game last week that I think they made something like 2,500 passes since their last World Cup goal 4 years ago without scoring. But yesterday, you could see the vibrancy, some of the directness that we associated with them from the Euros, I think. And it's that mix of styles and that blend of styles that they've got that they can adapt to certain situations, which I think was the reason why I was picking them as pre-tournament favourites. Getting the win eases the path a little bit more. Yamal back obviously is huge, and you see the difference that he makes, but also some of the changes they were making with Pedri playing a little bit deeper as well. Just a much more all-round performance. And yeah, for me, I'm still just about having them as favourites, even if they didn't get off to a brilliant start.
Can I be harsh? I think that I think the tweaks that De La Fuente made worked really well, particularly with Pedri, with Yamal coming in. But I would have liked to see Spain stick the boot in a little bit more. I think that the criticism from, I know it was still a heavy win, but the criticism from the Cape Verde game was that, they had the possession, but up against the disciplined defence, they couldn't quite be ruthless enough. We talked about the number of shots that they had. Obviously, we've talked about Vizinha and how great he was. I think Saudi Arabia gave up so many more kind of easy chances. We know that Spain are really technically gifted. We know that they can create really well. I don't know that, once Saudi Arabia sort of switched to like damage limitation mode to the extent that they were ever not in that, I would have liked to see Spain really test themselves and kind of go a bit further and go, okay, when teams are being especially kind of trying to make themselves hard to break down, how do we go at that? I think that they showed kind of what they can do really well. It's the being ruthless and being incisive through really difficult defences that is the bit that could cost them. And I still agree with Critch that they're one of the favourites for the tournament, but I don't know that, it was a great statement and a great response to that opening game, but I don't know that they've necessarily alleviated my concerns about them, I guess.
Not completely convinced.
Not completely, yeah. They're still one of my favourite sides to watch at the tournament, and some of the stuff that they do in possession is great, but I would have liked them. It feels like very harsh to say this after a 4-0 win, but I would have liked to see them be a little bit more ruthless.
Yeah. Obviously, we've touched on the fact that Lamine Yamal started and scored, and they, to be fair, just seemed like a different prospect with him in the side. How much does their hopes this tournament really rely on him? Just how crucial is he to them potentially going all the way?
I think massively, because how many other 18-year-olds have a conversation to be the best player in the world? It's crazy. First World Cup start, first World Cup goal, first start since picking up his hamstring injury in April. And I do think, on Keris's point, I think that has to be a factor in it as well. You see him come off at half-time, the game's won. I understand that you sometimes want to put your foot on the throat of teams, but Spain didn't need to do that yesterday. And when you've got such a concern about your star player and his fitness, and if this is him at 50-60% and that needs to be managed, then I think it makes sense to just take the foot off a little bit. Yeah. He just lifts everything though. Like him coming on against Cape Verde, the reaction within the stadium and how suddenly there's a lot more just electricity in Spain's play once he's on the pitch.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you see that right from the start yesterday, where he's putting crosses in, he's taking shots on from 4 minutes, and then he's scoring in the 10th. He is just a phenom. It's just incredible. And I think you want to see him play 90 minutes, and until he does that, we won't be absolutely certain about just what level he's at. But Spain didn't really need him yesterday, largely because of the platform that he's given them and the difference that he makes.
Yeah. Yamal, their star player, one of Spain's more underrated players maybe, is Oyarzabal, who Paul mentioned. Oyarza Haaland. Sounds a bit clunky, but
it's not.
I'm not sure about. I'm not
sure it's going to catch
that
on.
One, yeah,
Of course, we know all about him. Breaking our hearts in the Euro 2024 final, but 15 goals in 15 appearances now for his country.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. Like, we talk about how good Spain are in possession, how good that midfield is, but you need a focal point. Like, that's what we see with so many kind of possession-based teams, and he can really be that. Not all of the goals are gorgeous. Some of them are very scrappy, sort of very much poachers goals, but that's exactly what you need. And he's definitely put himself right in the mix for that Golden Boot race, which looks like it's going to be.
He was my pick for it before the tournament.
Yeah, I think.
I'm saying that now, not after he didn't have a touch in the first half hour in the first game.
Exactly.
But I'm saying that now. He was before the tournament. Yeah.
But when you've got that kind of midfield engine behind you, if you have an informed striker who can be that focal point for them, then that's a recipe for a Golden Boot winner, right?
Did you write about that? Did you?
No,
we got it on record.
I just say the podcast after the fact.
Just mention it now. Okay. Elsewhere on day 11, Mo Salah scored as Egypt got their first ever World Cup win, beating New Zealand 3-1. Had to come from behind to do that. And Belgium and Iran played out just the third goalless draw in the 40 games that we've seen so far. Before we move on, do want to touch on Mo Salah because, of course, his club future is uncertain. Feels like this is almost a perfect shot window for him if people weren't already aware of what Mo Salah can do.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've seen from kind of how his final season at Liverpool went and sort of how vocal he was about how he felt things were going for the team, that he is very much not kind of winding down, or he doesn't see himself as winding down. He still sees himself as this main man in a side and this difference maker and someone who wants to be at the heart of things. So this is a really important opportunity for him to show that he can still do that on a big stage. I don't think I can necessarily see him going to another Premier League club, but he'll be wanting to put himself in the minds of kind of recruiters in like maybe the rest of the big 5 European leagues potentially. So it's a really important kind of opportunity for him. It feels funny talking about a player of his quality needing to like put himself in the shop window, but I think he does a little bit, and the World Cup is a great opportunity for him to do that.
So, what a weekend it has been with goals flying in. Big wins for Spain, Japan and the Netherlands. Germany with a late comeback win over the Ivory Coast as well. Can kind of be hard to keep a track of it all, can't it, guys? The Athletic are ranking every side after each match day, which you can, of course, read for free over on the app. This is constantly changing based on results, based on performances. So, at the moment, France and Argentina sit first and second, respectively. That is despite, of course, playing just the one game so far. So, Critch, let's start with France. 3-1 win over Senegal, where their second half performance, wasn't it, really kind of cemented their credentials as one of the big favourites. Are they where they deserve to be, at the top of the rankings, the live rankings?
No. Not in my opinion.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Tell people your opinion.
Who wrote it? I think it was Tim Spears, and I'm on here with him tomorrow, so I'm going to try and be nice.
All right, we'll come back to this tomorrow.
I think you can make an argument for France as being number one. I can see it. I think you can also make an argument against, on the basis of 3-1 win over Senegal, very decent opponent. But I sort of came away from that game a little bit unconvinced and underwhelmed. As much as they turned it on in the second half, as brilliant as Mbappe was, as brilliant as Elise was, I think that first half, and particularly the midfield with Rabiot and Tchouaméni, they looked so overwhelmed in there. And I think when, that's the midfield that played through most of the last World Cup, got to the final, obviously. But I think that if you compare that to all the midfields within the tournament that we've seen, whether that's Spain, whether that's England, whether that's even Portugal, I think it's an area of weakness for them. And I think it's something that is going to be really interesting to watch going forward, and just whether they get exposed as much as they did during that first half. I think Deschamps fixed it, didn't have the front players pressing as much and a little bit more protection, but it is a balance that he needs to strike within that team. And I think they looked a little bit vulnerable in there. So, yeah, look, you still got to take in, like I said, the quality of the opposition they faced in that first game in Senegal. Very good side, tougher than, a lot of teams that others would have faced, a lot of the other favourites. But, I don't think they entirely convinced me.
get out of here every day, get into teaching.
All right. Keris, Argentina second. Of course, it was the Messi show against Algeria. Does second sound about right for Argentina from what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I think it's hard having France and Argentina top on the grounds that they're two of the teams that have only played once so far. I think Argentina, obviously, I would argue in Algeria, they faced kind of a weaker opponent than France did in Senegal, but they were really impressive. Messi, obviously, it's really hard to talk about the game in the context of anything other than him kind of being the star of it. And I think in some senses that can feel dangerous when we talk about teams kind of relying on like a superstar like that. But also he keeps consistently delivering, right? It becomes a problem if he doesn't, but he's not showing much sign that he won't. So in that case, it feels fair to have Argentina up there as holders. I think I need to see more from them to kind of, if by the end of the group stage they continue to match that performance level, then they'll go up in my estimation a little bit, but I need to see a little bit more from them before kind of like nailing my colours to that mast.
Let's talk about a couple of teams then that we have seen twice. I wonder if either the Netherlands or Japan's performances over the weekend change your expectations of either nation. The Netherlands, I think on our rankings piece, moved up from 8th to 5th. Japan, I mean, hugely impressive.
Yeah, massively. I think Netherlands first. I think so. You asked me for a big nation to go out of the groups on one of the episodes before the tournament.
I wasn't going to mention this.
I thought, say gun to my head, I'm probably going to say, I did say no, none of them. I did say none of them, but gun to my head, Netherlands, it's obviously not going to happen now. I think there was a big doubt about centre forward for them, and then Brian Brobby comes in, so powerful, brilliant with his back to goal. I don't know if it's going to work against every opponent, and so maybe there's a little bit of a question mark still over who comes in against certain teams, certain types of challenges, but and I also think that, you know, how good are Sweden? That's one thing that we really don't know because they had such an awful qualifying campaign and only really getting through the Nations League performance. So, and they beat Tunisia, but how good are Tunisia? They might be the worst team in the whole tournament. So I do think that there's a little bit still to prove with the Dutch. I'm not totally there on them. And again, like, this is a group where you don't have the benefit. I think if you win it, you play a runner-up rather than a third-place team. So I think they're currently slated to come up against Morocco. That's tough. That'll be a very difficult game. Morocco have really quite impressed so far, I think. So I'm not too sure about how far the Netherlands still go, though. You know, they couldn't have done much more on Saturday. And I like Japan a lot. I see Ueda, the top scorer in the Eredivisie this season. He was brilliant the other night. I thought they'd missed Matoma, and it doesn't seem like they have done so much. So really impressive side. I just wonder for both these teams how far they're actually going to progress, just because the draw is quite tough for them.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating the fact that you mentioned there's no Kara Matoma, no Wataru Endo either. It was like they were sort of missing some of their superstars, but no problem so far.
I've really enjoyed Ueda so far in the game the other night. I thought he was excellent. Again, Tunisia, you know, we can talk about. They were obviously weak, didn't pose much of a test defensively, but I really enjoyed like the fizz on some of Japan's passes, the sort of long-range goal. I've found them really an entertaining team to watch. I think especially my concern for them is perhaps a little bit defensively. I think because when they played the Netherlands, as Chris just mentioned, like they hadn't quite, you know, they hadn't brought Brobby in, and maybe up front there was a little bit of a question over who was kind of the Netherlands' focal point in attack. Maybe that played into Japan's hands a little bit, and then obviously Tunisia didn't really test them. So that's the question mark that still hangs over Japan for me, but kind of creatively and in attack, I'm really enjoying them so far, probably more than I thought.
Yeah. What about Germany then, who are already through to the knockouts? Are you more or less convinced of them after they fought back against Ivory Coast?
I think more. I think the difficulty is that it was that sort of like late sucker punch. That's what you need in a tournament sometimes, and it's good to have that impact available off the bench. It's interesting because, you know, I think after their first game against Curacao, we were all sort of, you know, how much can you really take from that? And then we saw Curacao against Ecuador, right, who really haven't lived up to their billing, but it was still a strong performance from those kind of underdogs, the debutantes. But I think Germany, they are one of the most complete teams at this tournament, and I find them sort of, that most of the teams that we've spoken about, most of the big names, we are talking about the balance between defence and attack and sort of how do they control the midfield. You look at the quality they have all over the pitch, they have to be the favourites or up there with the favourites which is why it's so concerning to see them need like a late brace off the bench to get past Ivory Coast, who played really well and who I think have impressed me. But yeah, there's lessons that they need to take from that one for sure.
I mean, fell at the group stage the last couple of World Cups, so progress in a sense.
Yeah.
Just getting out of the group. I can't believe we're saying that about Germany. And it's funny, isn't it? Because like I suppose they obviously won it in 2014, but they have underwhelmed in those two since. It's something that we sort of associate with Brazil, you know, this iconic World Cup nation, but aren't quite delivering in how the way that they used to be. It's
getting the quality on paper to match up with what actually plays out, isn't it?
Which is what we're seeing with a number of teams, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know. I think, what are they, third place? It's still a little too high for me, to be honest. I think like they didn't totally convince me either. I think Nico Schlotterbeck getting injured is going to be big for them. We'll see how serious that is. I just thought Ivory Coast, particularly for the first hour, were the better side, and again had them largely where they wanted them, and then Adingra with that chance towards the end before Undav scores the winner. Like, you have to put that away, and if he does in that situation, it's a very different narrative that we're talking about with Germany. So I think there's still a lot to prove. I think Nagelsmann, you know, the questions around him and him finding the right setup and the right lineup coming into the tournament, I'm not quite sure he has done yet, because his best player, he's benching him every game. So.
Right, moving on from Germany then. Both France and Argentina in action on Monday evening. Didier Deschamps' side facing Iraq. So we can see if France can pick up where they left off in that second half against Senegal. Ahead of that game, Deschamps has added to the criticism of the pitch at the MetLife Stadium, which will, of course, host the World Cup final. Matt Slater has written about that if you want to check that out over on The Athletic. Away from France, I mean, Lionel Messi could become the outright World Cup top goal scorer against Austria tonight. With everything we've seen, it's funny, isn't it? Because we're talking about, you know, the magic of Lamine Yamal yesterday, brilliance from Kylian Mbappe, Harry Kane delivering, Haaland as well. But is Messi still just the star of this tournament?
That's the thing. He seems inevitable, doesn't he? When we talk about, you know, looking at past World Cups and the amount of times that it's been raised the question of, this is his last dance, and then he just pops up again 4 years later and kind of picks up where he left off. It's such a treat to have a player like that. And I do think, you know, to make the sort of inevitable comparison to what we've seen from Cristiano Ronaldo so far, I think it's really easy to underestimate how difficult it is for Messi to do that, you know, at his advancing age and everything. It's a real treat to watch. And so far he's living up to what I struggle with sometimes is when massive names end up as sort of the star of the tournament. It doesn't feel very organic. It feels as though it's sort of put upon for commercial reasons or whatever, or just because they are the biggest name, even if they're not necessarily one of the standout players. Whereas I think Messi is living up to that billing, which is just a treat to watch.
Yeah, doesn't he always? Is he going to break Klose's record tonight? There's a feeling that he will at some point.
He's got time. He's got time. You know, he's going to have at least 3 more games, I reckon. So there's an opportunity there. Look, maybe it's tonight, maybe it's not. It would be some moment when he does. I think the hat-trick is probably the moment of the tournament so far, outside of the Cape Verde heroics that we've seen as well. I was in Moscow in 2018 watching him against Iceland. It was Argentina's first game, and he missed the penalty, and then they struggled to get out of the group and went out in the round of 16, and Mbappe was against France, and Mbappe was like, he's arrived. And it felt like, you know, has the torch been passed? Everyone asking these questions. I think at that point, Messi had 6 goals in World Cups after 4 World Cups. And it could have been over at that point. That could have been it. You know, he would have gone to Qatar still, obviously, but if it doesn't do much at Qatar, then you're talking about the greatest player ever, in my opinion. Yours may differ. Not really having a standout World Cup, you know, being a losing finalist and only ever really getting that far. But what we've seen since, you know, at Qatar and now at this tournament after just 1 game is him earning his rightful place at the top of the pantheon in terms of that legacy. And so if he does overtake Klose and get that, then that's testament to just how much of a quality player he is.
Okay, we've got some quick fire questions for you now. Of course, get involved if you're watching or listening as well. So, first of all, Keris, team of the tournament so far?
I'll say France.
Just to go against Chris, basically. Yep.
Get 2 free view tickets on us and experience his genius.
I believe music could change the world.
Watch Michael in cinemas now with Sky Cinema.
England.
England. Okay, we'll come back to that. Breakout
Okay.
star, Keris.
Saibari.
Buadi. I said him before the tournament. So
Yeah, okay, fine. Stick with him. Biggest disappointment?
Portugal.
Bielsa.
Yeah. Get where you're both coming from. Finally, who or what is winning the World Cup?
Goalkeepers that you have never heard of before.
We will come back to that. Crit.
The referee sent off Almiron. My favourite moment of the tournament, by far. Incredible.
It's in the rules.
Sorry?
It's in the rules.
No, it's in the rules. Yeah, that's.
It was the way
it's
he
the
announced
way. It was the
it, the
delivery.
conviction.
Oh, really aggressive.
The aggression. Incredible. It was like, it reminded me of like, do you remember when you had like a substitute teacher in school and you would maybe be acting up in the class and then they'd absolutely flip out and lose it? And it goes one or two ways. It's either insanely funny or extremely intimidating. And I watched that and I still don't know if I find it funny or intimidating.
It makes you like,
both.
did he somehow hear what he said behind his hand and it was like a personal comment about him? It felt like a very personal
attack.
sending off.
Yeah. I said we'll come back to some. So team of the tournament, England. I really like this.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, better than France. You heard it here. Yeah, look, I think what other team played a semi-finalist at the last World Cup, finalist at the World Cup before that, and just dominated them for periods within the game. Look, I'm not saying it was a perfect performance. I don't think there's any one team at this tournament that has absolutely entirely convinced just yet, and I'm not saying England did. But I think outside of conceding a couple of sloppy goals, I think there was periods where they blew Croatia away, and real intensity, and not in a way that was individual moments, but sustained pressure, attacks. And it was the physicality, the aggression, the clear sort of importing of a real Premier League club style onto an international stage. I promise I'm not getting carried away. I'm really trying not to get carried away. But I did think that is right up there with the performances that we saw in the first round of games against an opponent that, do we know how good Croatia are still? Maybe not, but they've certainly got that pedigree. And, you know, they showed moments themselves. But I thought defensively some lapses, some question marks. But overall, especially second half and especially the first 15 minutes of that second half, probably the most impressed by any single team that I've been during the tournament so far.
Okay, love it. Keris, you mentioned goalkeepers. We've had some unlikely heroes, haven't we?
Yeah, which is just, that's what the World Cup's all about. And I think it's also really fun that some of these goalkeepers, you know, usually when someone has kind of like a breakout performance, the talk very quickly turns into the transfer market. And, you know, we're going to see someone go in for them. I don't think we're going to see Premier League sides entering the market for Vizinha or for Elo Room or anyone like that, which is in a way what makes it so fun, that this is just kind of a moment for them to shine and to be like a sort of backbone for their teams. A lot of their performances have been, you know, like flawed. I think Vizinha last night for Cape Verde perhaps didn't live up to his first game, although to be fair, it would have been very hard for him to do so. But I'll throw Berenvand for Iran in there as well, to be fair, who plays for, I think, Tractor FC is genuinely the name of the club that he plays for. And I thought he, you know, kept Iran in the game. There were a few times where, you know, it wasn't all clean and it wasn't all perfect. There were a few really dangerous kind of parries and failing to hold the ball that made you... But that, in a way, kind of, when you add it all to the highlights reel at the end, just adds to the sense of like heroism and the showmanship of it, which has just been kind of one of the really fun subplots to watch.
Yeah. Some brilliant picks from both of you there. Time now for our Do You Know daily trivia on day 12. Now, Critch, you said you've been doing your homework ahead of this, so...
Wrong kind of homework,
okay.
Unfortunately.
Well,
turns
still
out.
homework. So, today's question, do you know which two nations played out the game which produced the most goals, which is 12 because we're on day 12, in a single World Cup game?
Spain in there?
Nope.
Brazil.
No.
Argentina.
No.
Germany.
Portugal.
No.
Both no. USSR.
No.
Yugoslavia.
No.
Does the country exist?
Yes.
They
Okay.
both still
both,
exist.
both at the World Cup.
They're both at this World
Yes.
Cup. Oh.
Um,
Which World Cup was it? Can we get a hint?
1954.
Right, okay.
Oh, Sweden.
So just the 50 years
No.
before I was
No.
born.
Sweden. Norway.
Can we get a continent?
Europe.
Both in Europe.
Yep.
And they're both at this World Cup. Scotland.
No.
Belgium.
No.